California, CATA. It's your boy Chili Bo Pippin. Holla at us cool people, where the cool people at? So cool, yeah. And where my ladies? Come on and bounce with me. Come on and bounce with me. Come on and bounce. And all my fellas, what up fellas? Y'all just chill. Y'all just chill. You know I'm so fresh. Know I'm so grimy. Always stay chillin' with the cops right behind me. You know I'm so cool. You know I'm so cool. You know I'm so fresh. You know I'm so grimy. Always stay chillin' with the cops right behind me. You know I'm so cool. You know I'm so cool. I'm so C-double-O, light up your L. This beat is so swell like the homie Rozelle. But no, this ain't no beatbox, we call it street rock. They say the homie Chill Will got the heat locked. Young Cali, come clap for daddy. So savvy with the patty, you can ask the family. Yeah, I'm young, rich, and dangerous. Interest rates fluctuate with my paper chase. Who the boss? I'm the boss, I'll be late today. I'ma drink, and get drunk today. Cause I'm cool in my polo, cool in the Lolo, cool with the fofo, cool with the. You know I'm so fresh, know I'm so grimy. Always stay chillin' with the cops right behind me. You know I'm so cool. You know I'm so cool. You know I'm so fresh. You know I'm so grimy. Always stay chillin' with the cops right behind me. You know I'm so cool. You know I'm so cool. Bouncing in my peanut butter beans, cooling through the cone zone, blowing in the wind. Roll around town, sitting on chromosomes. Rocks like ice cream, we just call them cold stones. I'm so grimy and I stay fresh. The chicks call me Chill, got it tatted on my chest. Stunner so sick, I can see through the mist. And I'm cool with the bullies, so who wanna trip? Yeah, it's Chill Weezy, hip hop squeegee. I make it look easy, A, B, C, D. Cause I'm cool in my polo, cool in the Lolo, cool with the fofo, cool with the. You know I'm so fresh, know I'm so grimy. Always stay chillin' with the cops right behind me. You know I'm so cool. You know I'm so cool. You know I'm so fresh. You know I'm so grimy. Always stay chillin' with the cops right behind me. You know I'm so cool. You know I'm so cool. Now get it rockin', and get it rockin'. Leave it to Mr. Peanut Butter to get it poppin'. Now get it rockin', now get it rockin'. Leave it to Mr. Peanut Butter to get it poppin'. Fist of Patron, catch you past my nose. Shake it fast, drop it slow, get you snapping that neck. Yeah, I can make you famous, the king of the West. From CA to GA, stay chillin', Bo fresh. The police right behind me, they wanna catch me slippin', but I was just chillin', I'm too cool for prison. Yeah, and keep it rockin', yeah, and keep it poppin'. You know I'm so fresh, know I'm so grimy. Always stay chillin' with the cops right behind me. You know I'm so cool. You know I'm so cool. You know I'm so fresh. You know I'm so grimy. Always stay chillin' with the cops right behind me. You know I'm so cool. You know I'm so cool.
Myths series number 5. I'm Dr. Mike. Welcome to Renaissance Periodization's YouTube channel. Here's the myth. Vegan diets are bad for gains, really bad for gains. Let's take a look at what we have here. So the claim generally looks something like, well, vegans can't gain as much muscle as people who eat animal products. And if vegans begin to eat animal products, then they will become significantly more muscular. Now, interesting thing is, if you go to like Reddit or YouTube or Insta or wherever other people go to talk, Twitter, they tweet, they make bird sounds at each other. There's all these personal stories of people being like, yeah, I used to be vegan and I was skinny. And then I finally said, fuck that. And I started eating meat and I got jacked, and they pictures and everything, which is like neat. But remember, personal stories are literally anecdotal, which means there could be tons of personal stories in the other direction we're just not seeing. So, like, if someone has a testimonial, that's cool and all, it accounts for something, but that something isn't that much. And we could be getting kind of like a statistically very biased picture from what the reality really is. So we have to take that with a grain of salt. But that's kind of the claim here, is that like vegans are missing out a lot on muscle growth. Right? So why is this a myth? Why is this wrong? Well, theoretically, if you get enough protein, fats, carbs, vitamins, and minerals, you should be able to grow pretty close to, if not the optimal amount of muscle, given all of your other inputs, genetics, sleep, so on and so forth, how hard you're training, etc. So if you actually get those things, which you can from a properly fed vegan diet, you should be gaining, like, if not the identical amount of muscle that an omnivorous person would gain, pretty goddamn close, maybe to the point where you can't even tell the difference, right? And in the research, there's not a ton of research on this, but what research we do have indicates that properly fed, properly designed vegan diets do about as well as omnivorous diets, maybe not exactly as well, sometimes just about as well, in gaining muscle or enhancing athletic performance and so on and so forth. So it's wrong because, gee, the actual evidence doesn't lend a ton of credence to it. Now, as in almost every myth, there are some grains of truth, and here they are. First, just observationally, most vegans are not jacked. And a lot of people would be like, vegan, fucking blue-haired vegans, they're, small and pale and wimpy. And that's not entirely wrong, but that's more a correlational than a causational thing. Like, most vegans just aren't that interested in getting super jacked or at all jacked. And we think about it, like, of all of humanity, like, us meatheads occupy like a really small corner of this really, really weird world. Like, if you think about it, we're like trying to add physical tissue to our bodies. Like, Elon Musk is out there going to space and Mars and shit. What the fuck are we doing with our time? So we like judge the fuck out of vegans for being like tiny motherfuckers. Like, who gives a shit? And they might not give a shit. So if you see someone who literally just basically doesn't lift weights, they do tons of cardio, they're not eating a lot of protein, they're literally not trying to get jacked. If that just demographically correlates with being vegan, it looks like veganism causes being not jacked, but really it's just correlation. Like, they just might not care as much, and that's probably true on average. There's tons of vegans that care about getting jacked, but statistically, they're in the very small minority of vegans. Really, when you think about it, similarly to how like people who want to get jacked are a very small fraction of omnivores, right? Like, most people eat meat and animal products. People don't want to get jacked, and I think that's even more, a little bit why that might be. Vegans generally, statistically as a group, tend to exhibit feminized mental characteristics, including a higher degrees of sympathy, which probably brought them to be vegan in the first place. And generally speaking, when you engage in hardcore resistance training and an attempt to become monstrous, you're exhibiting more masculinized characteristics, which is like good or bad. It's not like valid judgment. It's just a different way to roll. And it's just like most vegans just aren't on that spectrum of things, which is totally fine. Again, it's totally cool. And that's not all vegans, etc. But it's just a thing. Like, if you say like, oh man, the hippie lifestyle isn't conducive to getting jacked, like, I just don't think most hippies want to get jacked. You can also say thing about computer scientists. Like, what is it about computer science that makes people small and pale skinned and like socially awkward? To be like, wait, is it the computer science, or is it the fact that computer scientists themselves just generally tend to be those things and just don't care about being another way? It's probably more correlation than causation. Another little tiny grain of truth here. Okay. So the grain of truth is like, most vegans aren't jacked. So you can see where people are coming from in that perspective, but it's probably mostly correlation and not causation. Leucine. Yes, leucine is anabolic. Yes, animal products have more leucine almost always than plants, but it is a good point, and it might make a very small difference. But if your protein intake is really high, you can actually supplement with leucine as well as a vegan. It really becomes mostly a moot point. So yeah, it's a point, but it's a tiny point. It doesn't, it's not the difference between like sigma male, omnivore, and beta cuck vegan. Am I doing these terms correctly? I don't know what any of this means. I've been on Instagram for a few days. So leucine, yeah, it's a thing, but it's a very minor thing. Really, really greatly oversold. And at the end of the day, we're not 100% sure if animal products don't have something else in them as yet either untabulated or undiscovered that does promote actual hypertrophy a little bit better than something that is absent in plant products and only exists in animal products. Maybe some sort of like hormone derivatives or some other kind of chemicals that are in animal products, growth factors, etc., that really just do actually make a difference. The thing is that this can't make a huge difference. We know that. It might make a small one, which maybe, not for sure, can make omnivorous diets that include animal products, just marginally a little bit more hypertrophic. So that's a possibility we're not willing to rule out. So we're not willing to say it's a total myth that vegan diets have absolutely no impact on muscle gains. It might be true, but we know at best it's a tiny bit true, or at worst, and at best it's not true at all, right? So where do we go from there? What are the best practices? If you're okay with eating animals from, morally, etc., I have a whole list of reasons about why to and why not to do it on vegan. So if you type in Israel veganism into YouTube, I think that's how search engines work. You should get an
the super team,
or very not interesting video, depending on your perspective. It's like 30 minutes. I really beat the issue to death. But if you're okay with eating animals, given all that, an omnivorous diet is probably still your best bet for muscle growth. So like if somebody came to me and they're like, hey, I don't care whether I'm vegan or not at all for ethical reasons, don't care. I want to be an IFBB pro and I have pretty good genetics. Should I be eating animal products or not? I'd be like, yeah, for sure. I wouldn't rule them out, like milk and meat and eggs. That's all really good stuff. So if you really want to get jacked, I definitely wouldn't say going vegan is like the best proactive idea. However, if you are vegan, there's probably nothing to worry about. You're probably going to get at least 95 to 97% of the gains you could have gotten, if not 100. But the way you do that is to make sure you eat between 1.25 and 1.5 grams of higher quality protein, because vegan sources tend to be lower quality, per day. Not a gram per pound, but a bit more. How much more is up for debate? There's some nuance there, but more. 1.25 to 1.5 is my humble recommendation based on my assessment of the literature. Do that. Eat well, eat consistently, do everything else you would normally, and I would highly recommend probably like some zinc and maybe magnesium and a few other things. But generally speaking, I would say at least B vitamin supplement and creatine. Because plant products have essentially no creatine in them. Animal products do. Supplemental creatine tends to be something vegans respond to very well because it's nearly absent from their diets. So take some creatine, take some B vitamins, be a vegan, call me in the morning. You're going to wake up looking like fucking Arnold. See you next time.
Christian, does this guy not look like Jacked Harley? A little bit. Balding Jacked Harley.
He does. I thought you guys would love this shirt tonight.
What's this shirt?
It says vegan cult member.
Oh, sick.
Nice.
Oh, is that William? Or is
Yeah.
that Christian talking? Oh, what's up, dude?
Not
I'm,
much.
The legend, the meme himself.
Yep. I have
William's
3
in the
shirts from
house,
this
Christian's
YouTube
in the
channel.
What's that?
I have 3 shirts from this YouTube channel. The one of the meme, this one, and another one.
Awesome.
I'm going to stop my cam a little bit. I need a drink.
Okay. Well, anyway.
So at the end of that video, I mean, one thing he says just vegans should take their B vitamins and creatine if they want to get jacked. Everyone should be taking their B vitamins, specifically B12, especially B12, and creatine if you want to get jacked. Just to clarify, IMO.
Because most people are deficient in all those things also. So
Yeah. I was just gonna say that most people are actually just deficient in that shit, anyways.
yeah. Cooking meat kills a lot of the alleged nutritious qualities of it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what was up? Where's John Balls?
He's supposed to be in here. I'm about to message him. Hold on.
I saw him
Hold
put
on.
up his picture of him and his kit last week after the show. That was hilarious.
Oh, and there will be times.
What's up,
There'll be
Fred?
times I won't be on the live stream because of that.
Okay.
I like American football, if you can't tell.
Oh yeah. Oh, I get it. Got it. You football guy. So I got a bunch on the agenda today. Tonight. I have a couple videos we're just gonna watch, but then I'm gonna go into a more further deep dive on some things some people have been saying on my Facebook page. We're gonna deep dive and fact check Carnist statements that are made to me on the regular. So right now, I think we're gonna watch this Quick Earthling Ed
It's
video.
interesting that you use the term gas chambers because obviously you're trying to kind of evoke.
Well, what are they?
Well,
These
what
are
are-
chambers that are filled with gas that are used to.
Because I
kill
think you're
pigs.
obviously trying to evoke, a kind of cultural memory.
Our next witness is Ed Winters, who's a vegan activist and campaigner and author of How to Argue with a Meat Eater and Win Every Time. I suppose we'll see about that.
We'll see about that.
Look, if I was sitting here in front of you now, well, I'm sitting in front of you now, but I was tucking into, bought by the BBC, a meltingly tender, medium rare ribeye steak, not empty packet of crisps. what we
edgy.
actually got
Oh my
here.
God.
But if I got the steak in front,
Bacon.
how would you categorize that as a moral act?
Well, I would
I found them.
act. I think when we exist in a world where we have the choice to not do these things to animals, not force them into gas chambers, to not cut their throats, to not exploit them, when we have a choice to not do these things ethically and morally, to not inflict unnecessary violence onto someone else is the ethically preferable thing to do. So firstly, I certainly won't pay for my BBC license again if you were tucking into a steak paid for by the BBC, but secondary to that, I would still accuse you of being immoral because you've caused violence to an animal that you didn't need to.
Tim Stanley?
You got crisps? Okay. Ed, listening to the farmer has made me a vegetarian, but you're a vegan.
Yes.
So you go a little bit further. And this is what intrigues me about veganism and that I want to get into. You are presumably against products which derive from animals. Now, when I was young, we used to keep chickens, and these chickens were the best looked after chickens in the world. They had loads of place to run around, lots of grain. We even fed them worms. It was great. And occasionally they would produce eggs, and we would eat them. What is the possible ethical objection to me eating?
Hold on, this is something I don't do enough. Everyone in the chat, everyone watching, please like the video. That helps out my channel a lot. Nobody likes these videos. So the people, I should be at least getting the 10 to 15 people that are watching the show to hit me with a like to get these videos out there more.
Like and subscribe.
They are slowly getting more views every month, basically. But yeah. Like and subscribe, please. Share the videos, clip them, all that stuff. Thanks.
This natural byproduct of a chicken which has not been fertilized and which they have no good for.
Yeah, I think it's a very good argument in the sense of, obviously, when we talk about the immorality of certain actions, there are degrees of harm and suffering involved. And so, of course, a situation such as that isn't comparable to the situation that most people partake in, which is by buying eggs that have come from sort of commercial farming units, whether they be free range, organic, or otherwise. And so in such a scenario, I don't necessarily know that I can make a compelling argument against the decision that you make in that moment, if, of course, these animals were rescued from a farm, are given a very good life, and not.
I think you're muted. It's always like, oh no, you're not. It's like the best. Oh, I was raised with chickens that had the best lives ever. They were the happiest chickens, the happiest cows come from California. I only get my meat that's grass fed from a small family farm, from the farmer's market. It's like one of those cop outs. They just like go to the most extreme example of like the lowest percentage of what people are doing.
Yeah. Which is not something that could be spread to the rest of the people. I don't understand this, as I hear this a lot from Carnist, this weird argument. Oh, you can't say that eating eggs is bad. And it's like, well, that's not what we're complaining about. That's not the sole thing we're complaining about as vegans. We're not complaining only about eggs. And these people eat more than only eggs. So it just doesn't really make sense logically as a statement to bring up. But you'll continue to hear this guy just kind of like, says statements over and over again. And doesn't really know what he's saying for the most part.
Not going to be killed prematurely. And maybe certain things have been done to try and encourage those hens to eat their own eggs, for example. They can replace lost nutrients by consuming their own eggs. So there are things that I would recommend doing over consuming those eggs yourself. But of course, when you talk about the ethical conundrum there, it is far more ethical than what most people buy.
But you wouldn't personally eat the egg, would you?
No, I would feed it back to the hens. You know, laying an egg, it requires a huge number of nutrients, a lot of nutrients for these hens. So by feeding the egg back to the hen, it allows them to replace those lost nutrients. Because as you maybe already know, hens have been selectively bred to lay sort of 300 plus eggs a year, and that takes a huge toll on their body. And if we can try and replace those lost nutrients,
but mine didn't do that. You see, this is my point. I just cannot. From a layman's point of view, I just can't see the moral objection to me eating that egg.
But it's a little bit of a red herring in the sense of I'm not necessarily here to compel you to not eat that egg. What I'm here to try and compel everyone else in this world, well, in this country, hopefully those of us who are listening, is to stop purchasing these products which are causing suffering and harm to animals and are resulting in animals being killed. So I'd be much more interested in talking about the eggs that 99.99999% of people consume.
Right, and I get that, and we got that from my first guest. But I'm trying to nail precisely what the vegan's relationship to meat and to meat products. Now, the second part of my chicken story is that, of course, foxes broke in, and foxes are not just carnivores; they're sadistic. And the coop was just destroyed, and there was feathers everywhere. It was a nightmare. Do you have an ethical problem with what the fox did to my chickens?
Well, no, because of course, if foxes don't have the same moral agency that we do, they don't have the same intellect that we do, and they can't rationalize their decisions in the same way that we can. So in the same way that I wouldn't necessarily think down on wild animals who do lots of terrible things, I certainly would hope that we humans wouldn't partake in those things ourselves. Infanticide, rape, murder, wild animals commit these things to one another, but we would never justify those things within our own species just because wild animals such as foxes do them.
Right, so a human being who...
Yeah, good point, Allie. Like you...
Who's the responsible party? The human who wants to have chickens corralled in an area that's vulnerable to wildlife and predators.
Well, it's one of those things also, if you get biblical, like God gave us dominion over animals. It wasn't the other way around.
I also wanted to throw in Allie's point earlier about my cattle have the best life. They have the best possible life. Well, the animals that we farm and have the actual best lives would be our pets. So wouldn't it make the most sense if we're gonna harm any animals, we'd harm the ones with the best lives?
Well, I had this argument the other day, and I was telling somebody, I was like, dude, I would have no problem with you farming cows and killing them if the cow looked you dead in the face and said, bro, I lived a good life, you fed me well, you can eat me now. You should just kill me and eat me because my life was so good. Yeah, present itself to me. Like, all right, cool, let's do it.
No, we've had people tell us that.
Yeah, straight up.
We've had people tell us that in debates. Like, animals want to give their lives for us and all this stuff. We're like, whoa, what are you talking about?
By what metric are you measuring that? Yeah, how are you getting that?
Look, they're so calm when they're about to get killed. Yeah, because they don't know, and they've been hanging out with you, and they trust you, and they don't know that you're about to kill them.
Well, and I hate to bring them up, but didn't Lou Bass say this about the rabbits? That they run in front of cars, they want to be killed. It's like, no, it's them messing up. Their cognitive abilities are preventing them making the right decision.
No, they don't understand, right? They don't understand what's happening. I remember on my way to Colorado, I was doing this one run to Colorado, and I remember looking to the right, seeing the train running, and I saw four deer hauling ass, and I was thinking, oh, fuck, they're not going to make it across those tracks. And they went, and the second that first one crossed, he got hit by the fucking train, got sucked right under. His three brothers skivvied the other way as fast as they could. They're not trying to hit by cars. It's just, you're talking thousands of years of an animal in existence that has no idea what the fuck a car is or a train.
Christian,
or how fast something's coming. Yeah.
Your internet's breaking up or something, or your speaker.
It's fine on our side. Might be on your side, John Bob. We're hearing a lot of our sound through you, John Bob, too. You might be a little too close, or
too close.
Let me leave and come back, see if it's better.
Okay.
He does that to me all the time. He always thinks it's me, and it's actually him.
Didn't have a normal human being's moral sense and they ate an animal product, that would be okay because they're operating purely on
Devin,
instinct
Braxton,
and not higher
where are you guys?
Well, not necessarily. I think when you say instinct, I'm referring to animals that don't have those capacities. But I think most humans have the sense of empathy, responsibility, morality. I think someone who is in the situation you're describing wouldn't necessarily have the ability to be able to function on their own in a kind of conceivable way. So they wouldn't be in a supermarket making the decision to buy steak.
So human beings are superior to animals.
Well, intellectually we are, but superiority doesn't give us the justification to inflict harm onto others. That's a form of tyranny and oppression. And so we may be intellectually superior, if you want to use that word, to other animals, but that gives us a sense of responsibility to not abuse that power and to tyrannize over those who
Do we also have a moral responsibility to reduce harm being done against animals by other animals?
Oh, I think in some senses, yes. I mean, obviously the remit there is far different, and what we'd be able to achieve is far different.
Right. So we don't want to police lions from chasing gazelle.
Exactly. But if we can limit the suffering of wild animals as well in sort of effective, efficient, and sort of not too interventionist type of ways, I think that would be a good thing to do as well.
See, one thinks of vegans like other animal rights activists as being very pro-nature, but it sounds to me a bit like you're actually suggesting human beings rising above nature, separate from it, like we're some kind of great alien godlike race that gets to manage the environment.
Well, no, I would argue that a godlike race would be one that acts with impunity over the immorality that inflicts upon others, which is very much the anti-vegan position, which is that we are dominant, therefore we can do as we wish to these animals that we view as being beneath us. The vegan position is that we should try and safeguard the lives of animals and humans and our planet, and as a consequence of that, it is a pro-nature position, but of course the vegan position is more about sort of opposing the forms of animal violence that we have direct control over, which of course in the farming scenarios, we are the ones who are completely in control of that.
Ed, so when it comes to eating meat, would you agree that the main driver people do it, despite all of those arguments, is the pursuit of taste pleasure?
Yes.
So, and you believe that that's morally inferior to not doing that because you think the suffering outweighs that?
Well, what do you think? Do you think that pleasure should be a moral justifier for one's actions?
In some circumstances, yes. I mean, I would accept.
Can you tell me which
I would say that it is a moral good to cultivate human enjoyment, pleasure, satisfaction, warmth, comfort. So, for example, I think it would be morally justified to kill an animal if it meant that, it might give you a warm clothes, for example.
Well, back in the day, if we were needed that fur to survive because we lived in harsh winters where we lived in caves, that'd be very different. But in a modern world where that argument doesn't hold up, then to kill an animal and skin them for their fur or to use their skin for clothing when we don't need to would be wrong. I'm interested to know in a modern day context, is there anything that you wouldn't want to do to an animal in the name of pleasure?
Well, I think I was a vegetarian, as I said in the beginning, and actually I did find that there was something quite miserable about the fact that I would go past the KFC and feel extremely hungry. So in a scenario, for example, where we could eliminate the suffering caused by animal from meat consumption, but let's say in this scenario,
you learn how to feed yourself
pleasure and enjoyment and satisfaction that they got out of food reduced by a couple notches, would you still see that as a morally preferable situation to the one we have now?
Absolutely. In the same way, let's take people that engage in dog fighting or dog abusing.
Well, this is a much more wider practice. Obviously, eating meat is much wider than dog fighting.
If you want to justify the gassing of pigs in gas chambers because people enjoy 15 minutes of sensory pleasure when they consume a bacon sandwich, I think that's a very scary line to take.
I think it's quite interesting that you use the term gas chambers because obviously you're trying to kind of evoke.
Well, what are they? These are chambers that are filled with gas that are used to.
Because I think you're obviously trying to evoke a kind of cultural memory.
No. You tell me what they are if they're not gas chambers. You tell me what they are then.
Well, personally, for me, I wouldn't defend factory farming. So
no. I'm asking you a very specific question. I'm asking you if you think that I'm using gas chambers to be emotive. You tell me what phrase you would use to describe chambers that are filled with gas that are used specifically to kill sentient beings.
So I'm not defending the way in which factory farming practices take place. I think that there are many questionable justifications for that. Hold on, let me just finish. I'm also asking questions. I'm trying to understand why you place more value on the reduction of animal suffering than what I would say is that many human beings take huge enrichment from the pursuit and cultivation of great food. And I'm not talking about very specific fringe examples like dogfighting and things like that. Actually, this is a almost near universal kind of human practice.
But the problem is the argument you're using, you're choosing an argument to justify individual behaviors. And if you're saying that pleasure is a moral justifier for doing things to animals, especially things so extreme as
but not just pleasure, satisfaction, warmth, comfort, enjoyment, engagement with our cultural heritage.
Yeah, but there's lots of examples of things around the world where that would be the case. But again, if we're talking about sort of cultural satisfaction and pleasure, let's say, for example, there was a culture around the world where sort of bestiality was a culturally ingrained normal practice.
Again, we're talking about something much more
universal. It may be more universal, but what I'm doing is I'm using our argument and applying it to another scenario where it could theoretically be justified. And so if we think about scenarios where things could be done to animals in the name of pleasure, most of those things we'd find to be morally reprehensible, regardless of the amount of pleasure that it provided to the oppressor. I think that pleasure is a very, very dangerous justification because some of the worst things that humans do to other humans or do to other animals are done in the name of pleasure, whether that be sensory pleasure and emotional pleasure that comes from gratification, from feeling powerful and dominant. These are very scary justifications to use. And I think that if we start using these justifications to condone throat slitting, gas chambers, or whatever term you want to use to describe gas chambers, I think that's a very scary society that we end up in.
Ed Winters, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
He's like, okay, let's stop there.
We're going to stop. Well, before any more damage happens.
Yeah.
Whoa. So what's up? What's up, John Balls? I saw you in your kit. You got a new picture up? Your cycling kit?
Yep.
Oh, muted.
You're muted, bruh.
John, you're muted.
You're muted, John Bob.
John Ball.
John Balls.
Oh, sorry. The volume.
There you go.
There we go.
There you
Yeah,
go.
actually, that kit, I actually got that from Christian, and I got the bike. I got everything out there.
Yeah, it looks like a bunch of Christian stuff.
You got it.
Yeah, I gave him. What was that first one I gave you? And you were gonna fix it up, and you just tossed me another one.
Oh yeah, he gave me like it was a 1974 Raleigh Grand Prix, which was like one of their entry level bikes. So I traded him for a Raleigh Prestige, which was like their highest end bike of like 1986.
Sick. So
yeah. and then I stuck his bike in the garden. Anyways, yeah, sorry.
Oh, there's a very good question.
Yeah.
From Miles Broom.
How do you think people leaving a carnivore diet can begin to eat veggies again without stomach pain? I'm having a hard time. I don't think it's the veggies giving you stomach pains.
I can take this one.
Yeah, go ahead, John Bob.
I think it's a gut bacteria.
You have programmed your stomach to not be able to handle food properly. I would recommend hitting fruits really hard and cleaning stuff up. It's gonna hurt because your body doesn't have the things it needs to break things down properly now because you've changed your gut microbiome. Part of healing is dealing with the pain that you caused yourself. I'm very sorry for not giving you a better answer that's going to be less painful, but you're going to have to muscle through it.
Yeah, I would recommend creature comfort foods too, like potatoes, rice, French fries, anything like that you know is like French fries probably aren't going to mess your stomach up. You probably never stopped eating those.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. That's a good step through. It's a help lead to get you into a better position.
And eat bigger amounts of certain things than you might think too. A lot of people that'll make like once you get into veganism, people tend to eat bigger, more simple plates of food. Like we'll eat like 3 pounds of broccoli in one sitting, go ahead.
Oh, I will say, I don't know. Maybe my advice is kind of the opposite of that. Is what I want. The fiber might be an issue just because, like, kind of like John Bob was saying, you have to reprogram your gut.
Yeah,
It's going to take
microbiome issue.
a little bit of time for your gut to reprogram and to be able to handle high amounts of fiber, among maybe other things. But I would recommend more processed foods and then slowly incorporate in more fiber and whole grains or whatever it is, whatever source it is you're getting that fiber from. So like I would say like white rice instead of brown rice. Yeah, certain cereals. It's hard because cereals, they try it like a lot of them up the fiber, but yeah, just kind of like be a little bit more aware of having your bigger portions be of something that is kind of, let's say, like a little bit lower on the fiber side, or maybe like I think it's like insoluble fiber specifically that can sort of give the gut a hard time, especially coming off of a high meat or all animal product diet. But you have there is an element of having to power through, but still you want to reincorporate the high fiber side of things for sure. Like, just do it slowly though. Like, when I say slowly, like over a month, go week by week. An app that I used to use a lot when I first went vegan again is Chronometer. You can track, it has pretty much everything in it. You can use it for free. There's like a paid app version that has like some more metrics you can follow, and it's kind of interesting, but just, not to be overly controlling on what you eat, but just to kind of see, just micronutrient wise and fiber. I believe a lot of foods, especially if you're cooking your own food and using produce and stuff, you can track your fiber intake. But yeah, Chronometer, super valuable resource. That idea.
Oh, yeah. One other thing everybody left out, including myself, variety. The more broad what you're putting into your stomach, the more complex your microbiome's going to be, and the better it's going to be at breaking everything down. So make sure that you don't just eat one or two things. Make sure that you add as many things as possible in order to really build a strong gut microbiome that's diverse. Okay.
Kimchi.
Yeah, fermented
foods. That'll hook you up fast.
But again, go slow. You don't want to have, because I mean, kimchi is good. Sour. I don't know if you necessarily like those things, but if you do like those things, I don't know about you guys, but I can sit down and like finish like half a whole container, like half of a container of kimchi. Good. It's really, really good. So maybe another thing that maybe we're not used to, but like John Bob said, just you kind of like have a variety, little bits of stuff, sort of, incorporate it all back in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, maybe even probiotics. It's the same idea, might help.
Whenever I have a stomach ache, I have a kombucha and that shit's gone. It works pretty good, whether it's doing something or not, placebo. But going back to vegetables and fruits and stuff like that, that's what your body's designed to eat. So it shouldn't have that much of a hard time. Nothing that should take more than a few weeks, like Ali said. Yeah. So your body's going to be rejecting a lot of stuff that's built up in your insides, and you're gonna probably smell funny for a while, and there's a lot of things that are gonna happen, but then you'll start noticing all the differences, or all the negatives go away, and just positives from then on out.
Movement helps a lot too. I'm not sure how active you are, but if you're coming from a really inactive lifestyle, just daily walking, or getting on a bike, whether it's a stationary or riding around, it's like the best thing. It really helps with digestion too. Also, sorry, I keep thinking of things, but food combining too. Learning food combining, fruit especially. Fruit likes to be the only thing in your belly. So like, I don't know if you've looked into, like, I kind of subscribe more to like the raw till 4 rather than 100% raw, but melons. There's certain things where you can have that first thing in the day, and then food. Stop eating cooked food by a certain time, so you're sleeping and having good digestion, full digestion of that before you start the next day of adding fruit on top of that. But again, it's just like it's a practice, it's a lifestyle too, just kind of getting back.
Our rice cooker.
Also, I would like to add a really good read. It's a small book, not too much to it, but it's called The Grape Cure. It is amazing. The Grape Cure is a very fun little book, and it kind of teaches you like what monofruiting and stuff will do to kind of help your microbiome from going from super toxic to trying to, become healthier.
Nice.
That was The Grape
I
Cure.
love that book.
The Grape Cure.
The Grape Cure? It's amazing. Here, I'll show you guys the cover so you know what it looks like. I think if I can get at it, let's see. Hold on. I will do this slow so I don't tip over Christian's bike.
Don't do that.
That's all right.
Yeah,
That fucking thing's crash going 30. That's my race bike, guys. That's that $10,000 bike. Fuck that thing. I'll beat the shit out of it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna jack it up then. You said you were okay with it. Here it is. Here's my book. That one.
Hold it up higher, John Bob.
Is that better?
No, like higher in the camera screen.
In the camera.
Okay, there you go. Grape Cure. Okay, purple book. Is that about like grape seed? Grape leaves?
It's not about grape seeds. It's about grape juice and grapes.
Monograping.
It'll repair you. That's why I recommended more juices to the guy. Rehydrate everything, clear everything out, try and focus on more limited diet to start it over at least. And then once you're rebuilding and you've already started it over, then you got to add, variety.
Yeah. So, you guys follow Vegan Logic at all?
Vegan Logic.
Lifting Vegan Logic. Do you follow him at all?
No.
He's a vegan bodybuilder, makes pretty good videos. We'll watch some of them. These are just his short.
I have not.
He makes really good long form videos, but these are just his shorts that he's been making. They're pretty funny.
Do you slide on all your lies like this?
Hey guys, so I came up with a super creative carnivore recipe and I want to share it. So first you pour your water into your coffee mug. And then you just stick some of the butter in there and you go like this. And it's perfect.
You were to only eat one food for the rest of your life and no other food, this is what would happen to your health. Kale, you die. Beef, you thrive. Squash, you'd survive. Bison, thrive. Broccoli, die.
So that's it for the first chapter. We covered what constitutes a healthy diet. In summary, you want to have a mixture of whole foods like fruits, veggies, whole grains, legumes, and also, okay, but if you eat all those foods in isolation, you're going to be unhealthy. Yeah, nobody's advocating for that. Hence why I said a mixed diet. Yeah, but if you just ate beef or eggs alone, you would be. What is your evidence for that? They have nutrient dense. They have nutrient dense? I think you meant they are nutrient dense? Yeah. Okay, well, surely you understand that nutrient density isn't all that matters. I mean, a McDonald's Big Mac is more nutrient dense than beef alone, but you wouldn't go around advocating for McDonald's Big Macs, would you? Okay, but beef is nutrient dense. Okay.
You were to only eat one food.
Being a vegan is amazing in theory, except one problem. Most vegans eat a bunch of processed crap, which is really unhealthy and leads to 8 out of 10 vegans quitting and going back to meat. So if you love animals, go vegan, but diet's got to be a top priority.
Even with all that amazing editing, the information is still horrible. He says that in theory, a vegan diet can be very healthy, but most vegans consume a bunch of ultra-processed foods. He provides no evidence for this claim, but even if I grant what he said is true, what he's saying is trivially true of also non-vegan diets. In theory, a non-vegan diet can be healthy, but most non-vegans consume a standard American diet. It's almost like in order to consume a healthy diet, whether it's a non-vegan or vegan diet, one has to prioritize the consumption of healthy foods. Very crazy information and definitely only applies to vegan diets.
Being a vegan is amazing.
I'm an ex-vegan. Of course, I put a ridiculous amount of butter on literally everything.
I'm an ex-vegan. Of course, I went vegan because it was trendy, and now I'm moving on to another trendy diet.
I'm an ex-vegan. Of course, I drink a liter.
His shorts are really good.
Yeah.
What do vegans and communists have in common?
I don't know what.
The results usually look like this. Eat vegan. What do vegans and communists have?
Listen, like, I'm nowhere near the biggest dude ever, and I know there's tons of people much bigger than me in the fitness world, but man, are these comments just like super interesting. As a vegan who lifts weights, I get comments like this all the time about my physique, and even sometimes steroid accusations. There's one kind of anti-vegan who thinks I look like I don't lift, and then there's one that thinks I take steroids. And then there's comments like this that are just so interesting to me. Not a single sign of muscle definition, no separation between the shoulder and bicep or triceps, skinny fat. You can read the rest, I guess. Like, are we watching the same video? And if I was a meat eater posting a physique like this, would I get the same comments? Please let me know what you think below, because I'm genuinely curious, and there's a lot of room for, like, you know, body dysmorphia in this community. And yeah, I really want to know. Listen, like, I'm nowhere near the biggest dude ever.
You don't need to cook meat. You can eat raw meat. It's totally fine. Steak tartare. We can eat raw meat. We have the biological ability to eat raw meat. We don't necessarily have biological ability to eat a lot of raw plants. Something we have to cook them, prepare them, or do something chemically to them. Like corn, normally they would do something called nixtamalization, because they would like soak it in lye for like 24 hours and do a whole bunch of other things that would chemically extract some of the nutrients, get some of the, you don't need to cook meat. You can eat raw meat. It's totally fine.
I can't lie, I hate vegans. I think that's the sentence that runs in a lot of people's heads when they see my content. Because 1 second it's welcome back to fuck that's vegan, and then the next second I'm killing a lobster. And it gets confusing. I understand that. And I want to clear that up because my page represents inclusivity for all walks of life.
I can't lie, I hate vegans, because 1 second I'm making food that doesn't require the mass breeding, exploitation, and murder of innocent beings, and in the next second I'm doing the opposite, and people somehow get mad at this. The thing is, my page represents inclusivity, so we just have to include the types of food that require animal abuse. We must be inclusive of animal abuse. Also, I'm so inclusive that I actually don't include dog and cat meat in my dishes. I like to draw my arbitrary line of inclusivity at the point where including certain species may offend the majority of people following me. I hope you understand.
I can't lie,
What's your opinions on vegan diets?
So the guy who challenged the public to find one vegan in the Olympics who won a medal.
I challenge you to find a single athlete in this year's Olympics who will win a medal who is vegan. I challenge you to find a single athlete in this year's Olympics who will win a medal who is vegan.
Who still hasn't addressed the fact that there were multiple of them, is about to give his take on vegan diets. I wonder if he's going to be listing a bunch of non-essential nutrients found in meat.
There are so many nutrients in meat that are not found in plants, and you can take a million supplements, I know a lot of prominent vegans do, and still not get everything that you're missing in meat. Yeah. Does your multivitamin have creatine, carnitine, taurine, anserine?
Huge surprise there. Now, I challenge you to find me somebody consuming either a carnivore diet or an animal-based diet who won a medal at the most recent Olympics. And if you succeed in doing so, I will gladly acknowledge it, unlike our friend Paul here.
What's your opinions on vegan?
Okay, guys, so I'm gonna do something super cool. I'm going to take the eyes of the anti-vegan who made this incredibly genius video and put them right here. Okay, are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Whoa, guys, that's crazy. He must be like vegan or something. When there is just so much evidence supporting the long-term consumption of a well-planned vegan diet, this is the kind of superficial nonsense these people need to resort to. Superficial nonsense which literally applies to them. Absolutely amazing work here. Okay.
I'm looking for a trad wife, sourdough, homestead, crunchy, eats meat, butter, insane, boring, no personality, no substance, makes me not feel insecure anymore because she does whatever I say, abuses animals, and calls it homesteading. I'm looking for a trad wife, sourdough, Homestead, crunchy, eats meat, butter.
Yeah. Dude shreds. His long form videos are really good too. I think he did he helped out in me and Allie's debate with Garland Farms, or that was the second one. Yeah. Anyway, cool dude.
Yeah. If you want to talk about vegan homestead, there's a YouTuber called Gaz Oakley that does a lot of vegan cooking, and he has a huge garden that he cooks his produce out of.
Yeah, his recipes are bomb. They're really, really good. I think my mom cooked, remember his vegan turkey that one year? It was like one of the best things I've ever eaten.
Yeah. So, waiting for the other boys to get here, but I guess they're dragging ass. So I got a couple guys. There's Christian. A couple guys. I think John Bob, you've seen a bit of this. I'm trying to pull it up. Wait, there we go. So I got two dudes that I constantly see in the comments, spreading some of the most disinformation I see on Facebook. I got this idea a while ago to just like every show take something some Karna says on my page and do a deep dive on it. So we're gonna do two today. The one guy. Hold on one second. I gotta pull this up. So this guy, he's always making comments like this. I knew John Bob would love this one. John Balls. Is there echo and chips?
Yes.
Who's echoing?
Eating chips.
Hello.
Who is it?
It's probably Christian. Christian's building a bike right now. So anyway,
He always
Robert
echoes
Houston.
when he says it's me.
It's always you, John Bob. Christian's muted and he doesn't know it. Unmute.
Yeah, I used to destroy Robert Houston
I know I'm muted.
for like 6 months to a year. And then he got so pissed one day and he started being just trash. So I called him out and started saying, dude, you poisoned your own daughter. Then he got real pissed. He ended up deleting me after I made him look stupid for about 15 minutes.
Yeah. So anyway, this guy is constantly posting dumb posts like this. And so he said, studies are coming out. The carnivore diet is the way to go. I think I'm going to try it. It's so healthy. And so obviously it's like, okay, show me the studies, because there aren't any. And he, of course, he disappeared for a while and then came back with the Harvard carnivore diet study, right? Which I don't know if you guys know this study, but it basically, I have a video about it. Let's watch it. It's a study. It's not even a study. It is a expert opinion article that the carnivore MD, Dr. Baker, actually contacted everyone on his mailing list and told them to contact this guy doing a study to give a self-reported, to do basically a self-reported study. Where is it? Is this safe? Bio study types? No. Okay. So it's a self-reported study of 2,000 people that are doing the carnivore diet, and it basically they're just self-reporting. They're saying, yeah, it's great. It's the greatest thing in the world. I feel great. I got all the energy in the world. Blah, 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 blah. All my ailments went away. You know, like all these guys self-reporting. So as far as here, we'll look at where's, yeah, see, I'm getting yeah, I have a video.
Your background.
There we go.
The hierarchy of evidence.
Yeah. So hierarchy of evidence. Hold on a second. Doesn't really make much sense what these guys are saying. And so when I asked Robert Houston to prove that there are studies coming out, he grabbed the Harvard study that is the carnivore diet, Dr. Baker BS article, which is the lowest. It is the poorest, the lowest form of study that you could even call a study, basically. Whereas
you completely cut out on that part
of evidence. We have 200 years of meta science. The same patterns showing up over and over again that prove the truth, scientific fact. So these guys, I'm gonna try and find this video because it explains it a lot better than I'm explaining. But anyway, so So I'm going to pull up this video now. So you got these people that now that there's this one study out, they all point at this study and they're like, oh, look, it actually turns out that carnivore diet is more healthy than, but that's not even what the study is saying. And there's no other studies that run alongside it to give it any credibility to, like, if there was 10 studies on the carnivore diet and they all were showing the same things in the negatives and the positives, then you'd see, okay, there's a pattern here, but there hasn't even been a pattern made yet. And people are claiming that this is the diet that's going to save the world, which is totally crazy, because it's just completely not. There's no science behind it. It's all bro science. It's all Dr. Baker, Dr. Baker and Joe Rogan talking about it on the biggest podcast in the world, and all these fanboys that don't, have enough creativity on their own to actually, or like tact in doing their own research. They just see these two guys on steroids, these two pharmaceutical junkies, complete pharmaceutical junkies, Joe Rogan and Dr. Baker and the carnivore doctor and, whatever these guys call themselves these days, complete pharmaceutical junkies, these truthers that according to them are anti-pharmaceuticals. They're going to take the advice of the non-scientific advice from two pharmaceutical junkies and start spreading it in the truth movement as if it is gospel. These people are demons doing this, and it makes me sick. And that's why I name as many names as possible and show these guys' faces on my thumbnails, because they're absolute satanic demons, spreading sickness and disease.
And they want to sue you.
Yeah, and then they claim to sue me. They want to sue me now because, you think you have an expectation of privacy on the internet, bro? Give me a break. That's wild. So yeah, these truthers that are going to sue me because for libel, they're trying to say I'm slandering them when I'm simply pointing out that they're spreading misinformation. You can't sue someone for someone calling you out for spreading misinformation. Sorry. So you have this syndrome,
and
that
I
we're
will
going
say
on
they seem
right
to be
now.
really nice, well-meaning people. They're trying to take their health into their own hands, but they're than Pat is. That being said, that group with the lower remnant cholesterol and high LDL did better than the group with high both. However, in Model 1, where there was a ton of things adjusted for, there was still about a 30% increase compared to baseline for.
I just started halfway through the beginning. Sorry.
It's Mike here, and today my response to the carnivore couple's 4-month blood work results. And I will say they seem to be really nice, well-meaning people. They're trying to take their health into their own hands, but they're doing their own research, which in that community generally means being fed misinformation that goes against not just the scientific consensus, but the best data that we have.
Am I going to die of a heart attack? Let's check my blood work and find out.
These low carb or carnivore experts essentially set these misinformation traps online that people can go down these rabbit holes with. And previously with Jenny, her LDL was really high. She explained it away with large fluffy LDL. We had the woman who had the stroke and how she explained it away and how LDL didn't matter based off the carnivore cardiologist. But this time we have a concept that I have not discussed before on this channel, and that is remnant cholesterol, that their levels being lower will save them. So let's just investigate this, because I do think it is a really interesting topic as well. There's a lot to learn about it and research to look at, so let's go. Pat and Caitlin are the carnivore couple, and this is the video I'm responding to. Is it safe? Carnivore diet 4-month blood work results.
So this is a good example of what these carnus dillholes do on my Facebook every day. So this couple, they're obviously very overweight. Both of them have extremely high LDL. And instead of looking at 200 years in meta science, which is which is studies of studies of studies of studies of studies of studies, where we've seen the pattern of truth and we know what actually works or not. After 200 years of science, this couple is going to look at the Harvard study and a couple other studies that are not studies, that are the lowest form of information that we have, and they're going to base their decisions on these studies that are popular, that are being passed around carnivore circles, that aren't actually really studies. They're just a bunch of guys got together and wrote something, stroking each other off, basically. Like there's no science being done in these studies. There's no studies, like actual scientists looking at the numbers, crunching numbers, doing anything like this. They're just simply, they've gotten everyone's, told them, oh, it's great, and maybe a few negatives that came out, but anyway, so they're taking terrible studies for being stellar studies and making gnarly life decisions on it because it's popular right now.
Hey y'all, welcome back to our channel. We're the Carnivore Couple. I'm Pat.
And I'm Caitlin.
And thanks to the person who sent that to me.
And I went to the doctor recently for the first time in like 13 years.
Yeah.
So Pat, after losing some weight, gained the confidence to go to the doctor without feeling as judged. And I feel bad because, again, these people are so nice and they are excited because they lost weight. But it's like, again, you could lose weight on a heroin-based diet. So we have to look at all of the factors.
I love that argument.
Cholesterol was 270.
Love that argument.
My HDL cholesterol, the good cholesterol, was 52,
which is a normal,
good range.
Mm-hmm.
But my LDL cholesterol was 207, and that's considered very, very high, like really, really high. And
his LDL was a whopping 207, which is over twice the optimal range by conventional standards, nearly 3 times that by more stringent standards. It's like 4 times my level. Yeah.
Upon seeing that number, my doctor actually recommended that I be put on statins, and I refused.
His doctor told him to go on statins. He didn't want to do that. And then, of course, they did their own research. Caitlin, in particular, went and looked at some studies, and that just brings us to the topic of LDL denial.
So I really had to dive in a whole lot more. And one of the studies I found showed that an elevated LDL does not seem to be the greatest predictor of heart attack and stroke risk. And so this study came from, I believe it was 2009 from UCLA, and they analyzed data of over 136,000 patients who were hospitalized from heart attacks, and then they had their blood drawn. And what they found was crazy. Nearly 75% of patients hospitalized for a heart attack had cholesterol levels that would indicate they were not at risk for cardiovascular events.
Oh, I keep seeing this now.
Current cholesterol guidelines. How crazy is that?
I'm going to be honest, this is a wild interpretation from a study whose conclusion is diametrically opposed to what they're saying. Directly from the conclusion, quote, "These findings may provide further support for recent guideline revisions with even lower LDL goals." Yeah, public health organizations often set cutoffs that they think are achievable for people. And that's likely part of why they chose 100 for that LDL or bad cholesterol cutoff instead of, say, 70, which we'll get into why is better later. But yeah, they're like, lower's better. They're not saying LDL levels don't matter. But I just have to throw in a quick reminder that from the European Society of Cardiology, higher LDL is causal to atherosclerosis, plaque in our arteries. And additionally, from this chart, we have very high quality Mendelian or genetically randomized studies where, the difference is that someone has higher LDL due to genes and they have higher heart disease risk. And then Caitlin says, well, looking further is where I found this idea of remnant cholesterol.
And so that's when I came across this idea of remnant cholesterol. Have you ever even heard of remnant cholesterol?
Never heard of it, so we started doing research after my blood work.
She even said it correctly. I came across this idea.
And I will say right off the bat, I have a feeling she found it through low carb channels, because you Google remnant cholesterol and it autofills Dave Feldman, who is a low carber, and he has a whole article on it, partially dismissing LDL. He says things like, at minimum, one should be looking at remnant cholesterol over LDL cholesterol, though he seems to still be concerned a bit about LDL. Anyway, she's clearly using remnant cholesterol as an excuse to throw out concerns about LDL cholesterol. So what is remnant cholesterol? From this paper, quote, remnant cholesterol corresponds to the cholesterol not encompassed by HDL, classically good cholesterol, and LDL, or bad cholesterol, such as cholesterol associated with very low density lipoprotein, VLDL, and intermediate density lipoprotein, IDL, in the fasting state, as well as chylomicron remnants in the non-fasting state. Getting a little complex here, but in general, these are triglyceride heavy particles, which brings me to the equation for cholesterol itself, because we're really estimating most of these things. Well, you're measuring total cholesterol in the lab, and then they're also measuring HDL as well as triglycerides, and then they're estimating LDL, you're estimating remnant cholesterol. And so if you're familiar with the cholesterol equation for total cholesterol, it is actually HDL plus LDL plus triglycerides times 0.2 or 1/5 of your total triglyceride level. And again, that LDL is estimated, but we've seen from studies showing that's a very accurate estimation. However, you might be thinking, isn't remnant cholesterol just the same as triglycerides? It's just a proportion of triglycerides. And yeah, in the case for all these blood panels in general, yes.
Yeah.
And triglycerides are associated with increased heart disease, so it makes sense that remnant cholesterol would be as well. We'll get more into the causal aspects later. But yeah, his triglycerides are 55 and his remnant cholesterol is just 11, 1/5 of that. Now that you have that background, what makes her so confident that a lower remnant cholesterol would just cancel out wildly high LDL? Here she is.
One of the most current research studies we could find was published in 2021, and this came from Johns Hopkins Hospital, that showed that remnant cholesterol may be a better predictor of heart attack and stroke risk regardless of that LDL.
She mentions a study from Johns Hopkins that looked at 17,000 people, not huge for an epidemiological study, but worth checking out. And to be fair with that wording, one might interpret that infinitely high LDL is just completely canceled out by low remnant cholesterol. However, the very next sentence highlights the main finding that, in fact, the researchers say a remnant cholesterol measure may detect the potential for disease when LDL levels do not. So that's what the real finding for this is. When you have like low LDL levels for whatever reason, maybe somebody's on statins, which don't always lower remnant cholesterol, but can depending on the statin, and they're having high remnant cholesterol for whatever reason, and that can increase risk. So does the head researcher that literally performed the study say LDL sucks and should be thrown away? No, they say, quote, our analysis suggests that LDL should remain an important assessment tool. They just say that remnant cholesterol can find some risk on its own. And this video is sponsored by Seeds DS01 Daily Symbiotic, which is a prebiotic and a probiotic together. And in this case, one of these little capsules has 53.6 billion active bacterial cell units from 24 different strains, which are scientifically shown to support various areas of health, such as...
So you have, I guess when I pulled all of us off, I pulled myself off. And
yeah, we couldn't hear anything. Yeah, when you were trying to talk about hierarchy of evidence.
Yeah, so what these guys on Facebook don't understand is that our evidence is the highest evidence on the planet, while their evidence is all the way down at the bottom. It's an opinion piece by an expert, which is the lowest form of evidence that you have, which are these Dr. Bakers and carnivore doctors and all these guys claiming that this stuff is, well, they don't even claim that it's good anymore. But anyway, these carnivore influencers that are claiming that the carnivore diet is safe, they are doing so from the lowest form of evidence. So I have these guys on Facebook, they throw this Harvard, the lowest form of evidence towards our highest form of evidence, and thinking that just because it's a study that they're all the same caliber of evidence, which they absolutely aren't. So I'm gonna stop that screen. That's what I keep doing. I keep forgetting you gotta stop the screen. So let's see. So like this guy here, who is obese, as well as the other guy, both these guys that are claiming to be, experts at the carnivore diet, they're both obese. I mean, maybe I know this guy is, maybe the other guy isn't quite, but they're very overweight dudes. So this guy claims that because the NIH is funded by pharmaceutical companies or the U.S. government, he says, but first, I can first eliminate anything funded by pharmaceutical companies, the U.S. government, NIH, et cetera, unless those are sources you trust, which blah, 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 blah. So he's saying basically that all the study I gave him that is the low carbohydrate diet raises all cause mortality by X amount of percent, which is something we've known for a long time. Low carb diet is complete evil trash. You'll die very quickly on a low carb diet. And this guy claims low carb diet is saving his life and fixed his back and all kinds of stuff. I busted him first on collagen. He was saying collagen fixed his back, and so I had to show him they call it collagen is a marketing term. Or at least that collagen, you can absorb collagen by taking collagen. Collagen gets digested at like any other protein in your body. It doesn't actually. It's like that's like Liver King shit. Like, oh, if you're low testosterone, eat cow balls, and then you'll have more testosterone because the testosterone and the cow balls will go into your balls, and like it's complete nonsense science. That collagen is going to fix any of your joints or anything like that. It's pure marketing. It's pure supplement company marketing, pharmaceutical bullshit. And so this guy says that this guy who claims that collagen cured his back that's been bad for 15 years, which your back doesn't get cured by eating something. Your back gets cured by exercising and fixing the muscles. And like it doesn't, if you're obese, your back isn't just going to be cured overnight from taking a supplement. That's not how that's not how biology works. So this guy says that all of these, every single study that comes from the NIH or anything. But anyway, so he can say he debunks all of my studies that I've shown him because of certain aspects. But the thing is, in science, when you're doing science, when you're actually doing studying, you have to find out what is wrong with the information in the study in order to debunk it. You can't just say, oh, so-and-so, is a part of that study. Oh, it was done at a university, therefore everything's bad because it's statist, and then he's saying that because it comes from the government, it's bad. But the government is paying for his food. The government is subsidizing the carnivore diet that he's on.
Yes.
So how does that make any sense that if he's doubling down on the most subsidized, most immoral diet that exists? And
sounds like Padini.
That the study that I gave him, the concrete study, is bullshit because it has something to do with a university. Like, these guys are absolute clowns. They don't know how to look at a study. Not that I even could. I'm now a couple years in getting okay at reading studies. It's not an easy art. You can't just throw a study and be like, oh, carnivore is good because 2,000 guys said that they like the carnivore diet. All that's saying is that there's a cult of personality going on with Joe Rogan and the carnivore doctor and all that all these guys want to be like them. So of course they're going to say that it's the greatest diet of all time, even though we know now it's the low testosterone diet. It's the diet that keeps you up all night because you have low blood sugar and your body's telling you to wake up and go find fruit. Like, that is why all these carnivore guys are stopping. They're like, I can't sleep. And, oh, my testosterone's tanking. Like, wow, cool diet to be telling everyone is the truther diet to have. It's like, I can't with these truthers trying to say that carnivore or keto is the way to go. Like, can you be more like, it's absolutely insane. And they don't even know about the subsidies. And it's like, how you're the guy who's against welfare and against taxation, yet you're doubling down on the most subsidized food that we have access to. So anyway, these guys are clowns and they're obese. Like, you're going to tell me you know more about food when you're obese. He already said, he's all, oh, I was on keto and I got down to 240 pounds on keto. It's like, bro, that's still huge. And then
That's
he's all,
big.
but then I went back to eating carbs. Of course you did, because carbs are essential to your body. You can't live without carbs. Your brain works on carbs. Every cell in your body works on carbs. That's why you went back to eating carbs, because you would have died if you stopped eating carbs forever. That's how how that seems like a healthy diet, that yo-yo dieting, because you're having to go and binge eat carbs every once in a while because you're starving yourself. Like, we don't have fat and protein receptors on our tongues. That's because that's our brain. That's our body. Our body was designed for fruit, to eat fruit and vegetables. It's not designed to run the most peak efficient off of fat and protein. So these guys are all falling for marketing. Meat eating has been going down for the last decade, and so the obvious response from the meat and dairy industry would be to pump money into influencers to convince people to eat more meat. And these guys, these truthers that are claiming to be the most smartest people on the planet, don't see that they've fallen for this marketing. It's absolutely mind-numbing. When I hear these smart people, these people that seem to be very smart, saying the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. And then them, the loudest ones being these obese guys,
Always. It always is.
It's insane. And they're threatening to sue me right now because of their pictures on Facebook. What? Like, sue? You're gonna use the state against me because I took your picture? Because, wow. So anyway, yeah. So these clowns on Facebook, they don't know shit about studies. We're going to look at the studies that Harvard, since he brought up Harvard, and since all these carnists love throwing this Harvard study out, we're going to look at some other studies from Harvard.
I love Harvard studies.
That are a bit shocking. Queen present. Where's Bracky? How's it going, Fred?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. Actually, I was listening to this old thing there, and I would not like go back to meat eating even if I was forced to. I enjoy being a plant-based and vegetarian, and I mean, for us, it's like we can understand these principles and these informations, and having the experience of doing it, that's the truth about this, where you don't have to get like deep into, like, take few years to understand, how the body is made, how we assimilate food and things. I try to eat as raw as I can. There's some things that you have to cook, but there's many things that I changed, and I would not go back. It's fucking just the smell, brother. It's fucking gross.
Dude, a month into being vegan, if you walk into the store, it'll hit you like a ton of bricks. You'll be all, holy crap, that smells terrible.
I hate it. Me and John go to Fresh Thyme up this way, and every fucking time we walk into that fucking door, man, it's just like, whoosh, seasoned dead meat, because their fucking meat section is like right there. Oh, I fucking hate that shit.
Yeah.
Fucking gross.
Oh. No consideration.
Yeah, the meat stuff, the meat smell in the store, definitely. Like everyone has that like moment of clarity when they walk into the store, and you're like, oh, I'm probably not ever gonna eat meat again for the rest of my life now that I've smelled it again.
It's refreshing when you realize that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a fucking mausoleum. When you get into the grocery stores and you see all the remains of animals everywhere, and you have this fucking awful smell that comes with it. You know, even my children, the other day, one of my girls told our host that it smells like carrion. You know, fucking rotting corpse that cooking, and it was fucking funny because it really smelled that. It really smelled like garbage.
So this is the article I was looking for. By the same Harvard that put out the carnivore, the one with the carnivore one that promotes carnivore, saying that carnivore is great, or a very low level study. This carnivore diet, a terrible idea. April 5th, 2024. Some social media influencers are promoting a so-called carnivore diet made up almost entirely of animal products, such as beef, butter, eggs, claiming that it has cleared their skin and helped them get in shape. While the diet may help people lose weight in the short term, if they cut out super high in sugar and refined carbohydrates, it may have long-term health consequences, says Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. So obviously, Harvard doesn't think that carnivore is that great, because they're saying it's a terrible idea. And this is actual. These are actual. This is people. These are other doctors and stuff that are doing these studies. Oh my God, it's getting hot. Yeah, probably.
So is this the one where it goes into the conflict of interest?
No, I'm gonna pull that one up right now. Hold on one sec.
That's like the best.
This next one's gnarly. It just came out. Well, the diabetes. So
I think it's the one you're reading.
yeah. So is it? Yeah. No, new concerns raised over controversial. There it is. You want to read it?
No, you go ahead.
Oh shit. So new concern raised over study that okayed current meat consumption levels. So if you remember recently, I don't know, several years ago, all of a sudden they're like, oh no, it's totally okay to eat more meat than you thought. And that really kicked off around the same time that all the carnivore stuff and all the marketing money going into getting people to eat more meat again started happening. A new study that suggested that people can continue their current levels of consumption of red and processed meat has been criticized by several prominent nutritional experts, including several at Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, who allegedly wrote that carnivore was okay. So that I'm saying that to show the spectrum of basically, any dill hole can write an article and get it put out under some fancy, school of Harvard, whatever. It doesn't mean that that's worth anything if it doesn't fall in the right place on the hierarchy of scientific evidence. So anyway, for its problematic methods of findings, the study now faces new criticisms that its lead author failed to disclose previous research ties to a food industry trade group. The study reported that long-standing research connecting red meat consumption to heart disease and cancer is not supported by strong scientific evidence. That's what they're saying. It was later revealed that the lead author had previously received funding from the International Life Sciences Institute, a trade group whose members include one of the largest beef processors in North America, as well as other large food companies. The previous study questioned health recommendations advising people to eat less sugar. Everyone knows here, we're big fans of sugar on this channel. And we've been fighting against the conspiracy against it. So here now we have evidence that big meat and dairy is putting out anti-sugar propaganda and trying to blame the health problems like all these carnists are doing. Blame it on sugar, blame it on seed oils. Seed oils! Public health experts have criticized the methodology of both the sugar study and the meat study. In an October 4, 2019 New York Times article, Frank Hugh, Frederick J. State Professor of Nutrition and Epidemiology of Harvard Chan School of Chair of Department of Nutrition, IJJ, that was a huge, argued that both studies use a standard to evaluate evidence that was not designed for dietary studies, and that it could be used to discredit the public health guidelines. Some people may be wondering that the lead author's next target will be, said Hugh, but I'm concerned about the damage that has already been done to the public health recommendations. So they've literally debunking these studies that say that it's okay to eat more of this red meat, and they've debunked, that these guys are just saying that it's okay. LDL, high LDL's fine. It's complete satanic misinformation that's being spread around by our friends that are truthers, and it's hurting people. Like, I don't think these people understand. They think they're getting like cred because they're like cool with like Rogan's politics or whatever, but they're like hurting people. Like, it's very, very wild. So this is huge, like sugar and meat at the same time for us. Like, holy crap, this is what we've been talking about the whole time.
Beef industry plant, literally beef industry plant, saying beef good, doesn't cause cancer or cardiovascular disease, sugar bad.
Yeah.
And they lied about it. It came out. That's it. They did not disclose their association, so that was obviously done on purpose, right? Because he knew he didn't want people that it's a conflict of interest, basically. So that was a big one we found today. I was looking into what you were mentioning, going into what these fools are saying on your Facebook, and so it was like Harvard study. Wait, what?
And so so what's his name? Where'd John Bob go? What's his name? One of these fools that spreads misinformation on my page says that carnivore has been proven by studies to stop diabetes. Eating meat all day. Eat meat all day. So
you ever meet a carnivore athlete? Like somebody who's like a hardcore endurance athlete, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm on a carnivore diet." Have you ever met one of those?
No, there's no such thing.
No such thing. I've been trying to find one.
People try and throw Chris Froome in my face all the time, but I just go get his record and I go get the evidence for when he went low carb. He hasn't won a race since he went low carb. People be like, oh, the goat of cycling is low carb. And it's like, yeah, he hasn't won a race since he went low carb. Like, hello. Like, these dudes don't know what they're talking about ever.
I like it when they say, well, Mark Cavendish, he's mostly on a carnivore diet. I'm like, that actually says a lot. That tells me a lot. I was curious on why he performed so fucking terrible over the past 15 years. And I guess that's it. I guess he's on a carnivore diet.
He's the one throwing screaming temper tantrums and shit, screaming at everyone, throwing bottles at people. Like,
well, he's on a carnivore diet. He's got mental health issues.
Why is he eating gels during a race then? Why is he consuming a high amount of carbs during a race? Like, it's one thing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I like to point out that Joe Rogan is on a 2/3 plant-based diet. And everyone's like, no, he's not. And I'm like, yes, he is. He literally lives off of fruit, meat, and steroids. And steroids are soy. So that's 2/3 plants.
Yep, it's true. Yep, steroids are soy, which is funny because most people I wouldn't say most people. A lot of people who do steroids like to use the term soy boy against vegans, but it's like, wait a minute,
right?
Who are the
right? It's crazy.
Joe Rogan is soy boy.
So Bill Hole says that it's So Harvard, who he claims Harvard backs up carnivore diet, just released a study saying that eating red meat raises your risk for diabetes by 62%. 62% is a lot, quite a bit. So I don't know how carnivore diet, eating nonstop red meat, is actually going to get rid of diabetes when it raises the risk by 62%. I asked him several times to show me what proof he had that carnivore got rid of diabetes, and he couldn't show me a single thing. But anyway, here.
3 months ago, Harvard published a study linking red meat consumption to diabetes, and news headlines exploded around the globe. And a couple days later, a dozen YouTube episodes and blog posts erupted on the scene. What caught their attention and mine was the strength of association.
Researchers also in the study found patients who ate the most red meat had a 62% risk of developing type 2 diabetes compared to those who ate less red meat.
Every news article I could find was positive about the study, and every YouTube episode and blog post I found was wildly negative.
Anybody that has a CGM could debunk that study in about 3 seconds.
If you want to show an example of how not to do scientific research, this is it.
I recognize some of the news authors and YouTubers. For example, I was aware of Guardian Health editor Andrew Gregory because he had won a Royal Statistical Society award last year for his reporting on British healthcare. And I'm very familiar with physician and YouTube star Ken Berry, who got over 400,000 views for his debunk of this study and for previous studies on the same topic. The name I didn't recognize was Zhao Gu, the lead author of the Harvard study. What struck me about all the coverage is they all rushed to catch the news cycle. No one mentioned that in this study, fish had roughly the same peril as red meat. I didn't see that coming. Intuitively, you would think that would cast some doubt in the minds of some people about the validity of the study. No? More on that later. No one covering this study had much background in epidemiology, far as I could tell. But what stands out with this paper is it took advantage of some advances in epidemiology that didn't appear in previous Harvard papers. I have a decent background in epidemiology, but to me it looked like it would take some time to fully understand these new methods. I am the luckiest guy in nutrition because I'm a retired scientist and a one-man band who can just pack up his gear and go ask Harvard scientists all the questions I want. I don't have to worry about the time or cost, and I don't care about catching the news cycle to pump up views.
Are you Zhao? Hey, glad to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So you have 2 master's degrees. One's in epidemiology and one's in biostatistics. They'll seem like the same to me.
Not really the same. Well, actually, biostatistics is the tool for epidemiologists.
Mm-hmm.
They have different focus. So epidemiologists, we study the risk factors, the reason for the diseases, and we have theories about causal inference. And to analyze our data, we have to use biostatistic models. Biostatisticians, they develop those models, and they keep updating their models to add things that can adapt to different data. So we develop it together, and we work closely together.
The press did reach out to Dr. Gu and Dr. Willett, a co-author, with their questions, but they couldn't go deep because of the tight deadlines to make their press cycle, and anyway, they were limited in space. None of the YouTubers reached out to the Harvard scientists with questions. The New York Times actually conducted a phone interview with Dr. Gu, and 3 weeks later, they reported on a rigorous
Not really the same. Well, actually, biostatistics is the tool for epidemiologists.
Mm-hmm.
They have different focus. So epidemiologists, we study the risk factors, the reason for the diseases, and we have theories about causal inference. And to analyze our data, we have to use biostatistic models. Biostatisticians, they develop those models, and they keep updating their models to add things that can adapt to different data. So we develop it together, and we work closely together.
The press did reach out to Dr. Gu and Dr. Willett, a co-author, with their questions, but they couldn't go deep because of the tight deadlines to make their press cycle, and anyway, they were limited in space. None of the YouTubers reached out to the Harvard scientists with questions. The New York Times actually conducted a phone interview with Dr. Gu, and 3 weeks later they reported on a rigorous German meta-analysis of 37 studies on red meat and diabetes. The New York Times reporter who covered that story was Alice Callahan, who has a PhD in nutrition and a respected book in its second edition, The Science of Mom. That German meta-analysis broadly supported the conclusions of this Harvard study. I didn't see any coverage of it on YouTube or blogs. The major objection YouTubers and bloggers had about this study is that it's epidemiology.
Again, a correlational study is one that can only establish a coincidence.
On these food frequency questionnaires and asking people what they eat and how much they eat, I mean, that's fraught with lack of accuracy and precision.
This is the kind of stuff that makes nutritional epidemiology the literal laughing stock of all scientific research.
Sure, I'm Christine Hess. I'm the Research Center Manager here at the Framingham Heart Study. I'll show you this way.
Being the luckiest guy in nutrition, I got permission to tour the legendary Framingham Heart Study campus near Harvard on the 75th anniversary of the study. Here's their director, Dr. Daniel Levy.
At the end of the 20th century, the Washington Post published an article describing what they considered to be the 100 most important medical advances of the 20th century. At the very top of that list, not surprisingly, was the introduction of antibiotics. And number 4 out of the top 100 medical advances of the entire 20th century was the Framingham Heart Study.
In cardiology, it often makes it higher on the list. This paper was about cardiology's 10 greatest discoveries of the 20th century. And number 2 was Preventive Cardiology and the Framingham Study. They called it one of the most impressive medical works of the 20th century. Like Harvard studies, it is epidemiology, and it depends on food frequency questionnaires to unravel the role of diet. They famously coined the term risk factor in 1961, figured out that high blood pressure was not the robust indicator of health that once seemed so intuitive, that dietary factors have a profound influence on heart disease, and now they're able to understand the interplay of genetic factors and diet like no other study because they've followed the children and now the grandchildren of the original participants.
And didn't your last original participant just die recently?
The last participant died about 4 months ago at age 105.
Wow.
And to think that she was a participant in the study for almost 75 years prior to her death, to devote so much of her life to a cause she believed in.
They've been able to observe how what seemed like the same food affected different generations differently. Here's what Dr. Levy wrote in his wonderful book. The American palate, getting ever more demanding, has grown used to highly marbled meat from plump animals that get virtually no exercise. It is juicy and tender, but it bears little resemblance to the meat our farming and pioneering ancestors ate. Dr. Levy joined the Framingham Study right after finishing his postdoctoral research in cardiology in 1984. I asked him if analyzing Framingham data affected his own diet.
What about beef?
I don't eat beef.
Why don't you eat beef?
I haven't eaten beef in over 40 years.
Why not?
A personal choice.
I wish a class in epidemiology was required in med school because it would help people understand that food frequency questionnaires are nothing like they imagine them to be.
How many muffins have you had in the last week? How many hot dogs have you had in the last week? Was it 1, 2, 6?
That's right. It's hard to remember that. I think Mike is referring to short-term dietary recall. That's usually administered as 24-hour recall so people can remember. Those surveys show some short-term variations, like for holidays.
Well, last week I traveled, or I was at a conference, or I had my kids and we all went to Disneyland. So it's hard to totally remember everything you ate.
What most people can remember is their habitual pattern of eating over the last year, which is more biologically relevant in studies of chronic disease like this one. Ask most people and they can tell you how often they have oatmeal for breakfast versus bacon and eggs.
So some people dismiss your studies because they're based on questionnaires.
Mm-hmm.
And the language they typically use is, I can't even remember what I ate yesterday. And you're asking me to remember what I ate during the whole year.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work?
It's by intuition, it's a questionnaire, but actually the underlying mechanism is not that simple. It's just in the form of the questionnaire, but we design it carefully.
Can I stop you there? carefully means what? Doesn't it take, Walter listed in his book that it can take 2 or 3 years to design these questionnaires?
Yes. There's a lot of effort on designing, initially designing the questionnaire, because there are three major compartments on the questionnaire. The first one is the food list, what food we are going to ask people. Another one is the frequencies, and also the third one is the portion size. I think most of the efforts are on compiling a food list, and we want to be more comprehensive because we want our questionnaire to capture people's nutrient intakes more comprehensively. So the food list should be long, but another issue is that if you have like 200 questions or 300 questions, people may quit in the midway. So we have to have a reasonable number of items on our questionnaire, and we have to identify those most informative foods. And that actually based on some statistical analysis. And I think that was designed way before I was born, but so I learned that from the book. So they initially had a pilot study to recruit people, only a small group of people, and they sent them a long questionnaire, which is a more comprehensive one, and they collect that and analyze all the nutrients, and they identify the most important nutrients and use a statistical method called stepwise regression to select the foods that can explain the most of the variability in the nutrients, and one after one, then get a list, a smaller list. And after that, they also have to test that again and again. And more importantly, our food list is evolving all the time. We update our questionnaires every 2 to 4 years. And so if you look at our questionnaires, every time there will be 1 more or 2 more foods, or maybe some less foods, because people's dietary behaviors are changing, and those foods in the market, they're changing.
As you can see, a lot of research and science goes into these studies, not just calling a bunch of carnivore dieters and having them self-report how great the carnivore diet is. This is a classic, more relevant today than it was last time we watched it. Carnivore diet is dead. None of the original people who started it are even promoting it anymore. They were paid by big meat and dairy to promote it, and now they're backpedaling because they know they gave a bunch of bad advice to people. And so the truth is coming out, and the truth is that testosterone is tanking for people on the carnivore diet. They are having low blood sugar. They're waking up in the middle of the night, insomnia, not able to sleep because their body's telling them to go out and find fruit. There are a clear pattern of negative effects that are happening, which is science being observed. And the more studies that are actually done to these ex-carnivores, we'll know for sure whether or not it's safe or not. We already know it's not safe. They already did the Atkins, they already did carnivore once in the 90s. It was called the Atkins. That guy died a horrible death of heart disease. Yeah, he fell and hurt himself, but he was obese and gross.
Hey, it's Mike here, and today the fascinating world and rising trend of no longer carnivore videos.
Today, I'm quitting the carnivore diet.
Why? I am no longer carnivore.
I've been following the carnivore diet for a length of time, and I just can't do it anymore for several reasons.
My body must have been missing something that I wasn't getting, because this broccoli, I'm telling you, it was more delicious than bacon.
We are going to go over the reasons I became very sick after nearly 8 years of following a carnivore diet.
And then in the last year leading up to the stroke, I had gone to the very high saturated fat carnivore diet.
You went from roughly less than 10 grams of carbs a day
whatever's in the glycogen of the dead animal, and then to 275.
And it just started turning into like a carnivore cult.
Carnivore diet is like a cult.
But clearly, I was vitamin C deficient. And my testosterone, it took a nosedive.
Bad muscle cramps, heart palpitations, sleep disturbances. My testosterone was kind of going down.
And then my gym performance went and my bowel movements changed, not for the better.
I know that I raved about the carnivore diet a few months ago and changed my mind, and I admit I was wrong.
I have now gone to a whole foods plant-based eating plan.
Immediately, I was just more full, so I wasn't as stringy, and I noticed my joints weren't as terrible.
And when I told my carnivore diet friends this, they would get all defensive.
So we're gonna look at all of those videos, which is really just the tip of the iceberg of ex-carnivore videos. And there's a lot of people that probably should quit, like this dude who had a heart attack and double bypass on his carnivore diet, but he's just gonna keep on trucking. I've been seeing these videos around, but the one that really sparked this video response was a recent one by Lily Kane, a YouTuber whose no longer carnivore video is approaching 250,000 views, even though it's really recent. And this one was a bit different for a few reasons. First of all, it was maybe the first time I've seen the comment section just like almost entirely support her and not just be like, you did it wrong, like you're stupid. And also that she had some great commentary on the actual carnivore movement itself. And I think compared to ex-vegan videos, these hold particularly a lot of weight because this movement is founded on anecdotes. You know, even the closest thing they have to a study is just a bunch of self-reported anecdotes. And then we have a vegan diet, which, you know, just quick refresher, across the board shows lower disease rates, whether it's cancer or diabetes, etc. This video, we're just gonna go ahead, observe this trend like a floating piece of driftwood that also cites studies. Let's go. So after looking at a bunch of these videos, why are people quitting? Well, there generally is a health reason. There's also some social reasons, and again, criticisms of the movement itself. And in terms of health, I want to say this isn't a video meant to go through all of the health issues on a carnivore diet. I've covered that quite a bit in other videos. And if you just want to see that, you can of course go to an Instagram like Carnivore Cringe and see all of the months of yo-yoing between, you know, explosive diarrhea and hardcore constipation, or other ones that the term TMI doesn't do justice for. But we will cover some health stuff, but that new thing really here is the criticism of the movement in its entirety. And that brings me to Lily Kane here, the video that sparked this one.
We've got a lot to talk about. I'm already sweating over here. I feel like I've got a lot to get off my chest.
Well, it seems like her main reasons for quitting were health. She has 3 points, which we will get to, but let's just start out with that criticism of this sort of lack of transparency in the carnivore community, or straight out, you know, dishonesty.
And as I would do more interviews with guests, they would say things to me off camera, like, Lily, I will just film my food and then turn off the camera and stop recording and then add my seasonings and my hot sauce to my meats. And I was like, oh, so you hiding stuff.
I find this funny because this is exactly what I hypothesized in my recent carnivore myths debunked video. But I've seen many times carnivore doctors just completely denying there's no such thing as scurvy on a carnivore diet. Nobody gets it. I don't think it's super duper common because people are probably like cheating and other things that we're going to talk about here. But, you know, James Blunt, the singer, got scurvy on his carnivore diet. I don't know why they never mentioned that. I'm scurvyful, it's true. But it is the case that the comment section also was wildly agreeing with this lack of transparency. Anyway.
And it just started turning into like a carnivore cult where people were more focused on being strict rather than on being healthy.
And yeah, she basically calls it a cult, which I think is really interesting because it's a theme that we're going to see through other ex-carnivore videos. But let's just lightning round her health issues, because why not? Well, first of all, she said that her and her partner both had high levels of ferritin or iron stores.
Then we got Bryce's blood work done, and his blood panel also showed that his ferritin was slightly elevated, and also similar to me, his copper was a little bit low.
Which is sketchy because many studies associate high ferritin with increased mortality. Perhaps it's the oxidization of that iron. And it's also wild that they reached that by consuming that much of a class 2A carcinogen, you know, red meat, which of course has that heme iron. That's one of the reasons it was put on the WHO's list. Anyway, they're eating less red meat and taking copper to balance that out. But the next one has to do with glucose. Yes, she said that her glucose was actually going too low at night. And she wasn't the only person in this video that said that.
And then lately, I've also been incorporating another piece of fruit. So 2 total servings of fruit a day, because I wore a CGM for a month. And when I was eating my animal-based 60 grams of carbs a day or less diet, my blood sugars were going too low at night.
This is a new one to me, and she's remedying it by making sure to eat 2 servings of fruit per day. She also said that carbs help her in the gym, which we'll see a lot of people say. And then also that broccoli was just amazingly delicious, which I thought was funny.
Anyway, so in September 2023, I bought broccoli, and holy smokes, it was so delicious. I was like, wow, since when did broccoli ever taste this good?
Her thyroid was also at the bottom of the normal range, which can
Oh.
Her solutions were to put egg yolks in her hair, put beef fat, put tallow in her hair. But I should just mention, there are other solutions like ketoconazole shampoo, which has been shown in randomized control trials to be highly effective for scalp seborrheic dermatitis for decades. And the last couple points, she didn't seem too concerned about her high risk level of LDL that she flashed in the beginning. I mean, that would be my main reason for quitting, but that does fit into her remaining on a, pretty high animal based diet still, despite adding carbs, because she says when she added carbs, things like acne happened, which I think is really unfortunate because a lot of that was dairy, which is heavily linked to acne. And also she went straight to white rice. I don't know why not, like brown rice. And now for a quick break with today's sponsor, Complement Essential. Hey, I'm a naive treasure hunter about to enter this ancient temple against all of the warnings of the local population. They just don't understand capitalism. YouTuber that I have covered in the past who had a stroke while on a carnivore diet. Here she is.
4 months ago, just under 4 months ago, I had a stroke. Leading up to the stroke, for 4 years, I was on the keto diet, of which I was very high meat and butter and cheese and that kind of thing. And then in the last year leading up to the stroke, I had gone to the very high saturated fat carnivore diet.
I did a responsive video after her stroke when she was sort of doubling down and listening to these sort of carnivore influencers and docs out there, convincing her that it was all okay. The LDL didn't matter.
Quite honestly, I had gotten to the carnivore by listening to social media influencers who seemed to talk a good game. They seemed to have studies that supported the carnivore diet.
But on closer inspection, she says that, their science was lacking in support of the carnivore diet.
There are no long-term studies at all on the carnivore diet.
And so now what diet did she go on to try and lower her future stroke risk?
I have now gone to a whole foods plant-based eating plan. And I also decided to go through Dr. Caldwell D. Esselson's cardiovascular disease prevention and reversal program.
She's eating a Dr. Esselstyn style diet, which goes without saying, I think is a great idea. He has his study on about 200 people where he essentially stopped these people who had advanced artery disease, cardiovascular disease from having heart attacks and strokes over 12 years. The people who went off the diet, they had a 60% rate of those adverse events. Combine that with Ornish studies, etc. Great idea. Anyway, moving on to everybody's favorite, Paul Saladino. It's been a little bit now, and it's at a point where most people are disillusioned with him. He appears to have made almost every diet group angry at him or just annoyed with him. He was the one I mentioned in the past that had an over 500 LDL level.
533 milligrams per deciliter.
What's normal?
Less than 100 or around 100.
But they say cholesterol is needed to make hormones. Wouldn't all of that cholesterol just put his testosterone sky high on a carnivore diet? Wouldn't he be super manly? Well.
Then I learned after a year and a half that I was getting such bad muscle cramps, heart palpitations, sleep disturbances. My testosterone was kind of going down. Right now it's around 700 or 800. I've included carbohydrates in my diet for the last 2.5 years. But at that point, it was going 450, 500, significantly lower. And my sex hormone binding globulin was creeping up. So I had electrolyte issues.
So yeah, he had several issues that led him to put carbs back into his diet. And he's not the only one of these videos that had testosterone issues in particular. We have Biohacker Tuan. Hopefully I said his name right.
And my testosterone, it took a nosedive. It went from 1004 nanogram each deciliter to the 550s.
He saw about a 50% drop in his blood testosterone levels, which is wild.
Carnivore
And,
diet
you know,
is
if people
below
were concerned about that
testosterone
cholesterol
diet.
comment I made, it's good to remind you that from this study, vegans had higher total and equivalent free testosterone than meat eaters and vegetarians.
My cortisol levels were off the roof. I was basically living in a constant state of adrenaline and lethargic workouts.
He also claims that his cortisol was high, which we do see on studies on ketogenic diets. Of course, people are eating a keto carnivore diet generally.
Is what they don't tell you. Like waking up in the middle of the night due to low glucose levels.
He is another one that mentions having low nighttime glucose. He said it was actually waking him up. And then I was stoked to see him also stoked about Japanese purple sweet potatoes.
And they're also great when it comes to antioxidant. They are an antioxidant powerhouse.
Yep, that's definitely a health food. And then up next, we have a Dr. Surwesh Kurwadkar. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. Anyway, he also appears to have had some sexual issues in the libido department.
I went pretty hardcore, like pretty strict, 0 carb for at least 6 months. And then I started to get issues. And that's when I started to experiment. So let me make that pretty clear. I'd noticed also my libido was dropping. And I've mentioned this before on the channel, you know, sexual health is incredibly important. Reproductive health is the canary in the coal mine.
But he says once he added carbs back, his sex drive came back with force. And then he also just felt better than before.
Everything improved. My energy went up. My stress improved. This kind of stress barrier came back. My libido returned with spades. And I didn't have any side effects. I felt better than the peak of carnivore. Now, that's a big thing to say on this channel because this channel has mostly been built around the carnivore diet. And I'm expecting some hate for this.
And this guy's a medical doctor. He was testing a bunch of things, and he is a case where he did have clinically low vitamin C, an actual vitamin C deficiency, not quite scurvy. So I guess it's okay.
I do want to talk about vitamin C. About 3 months into carnivore, I wanted to check them, and they were 12. Now, 12 is actually very low. I was developing issues with coiled hairs and ingrowing hairs at the top of my legs. Whenever I had oranges to bump up the vitamin C, it went away. When I didn't have the oranges, it came back. But clearly, I was vitamin C deficient.
So he had coiled hairs, which is a symptom of vitamin C deficiency, which is really interesting. Again, not full-blown scurvy like James Blunt on his carnivore diet, but another case of vitamin C deficiency. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that a lot of these are cases of male sexual health. Males seem to be more likely to go on the carnivore diet anyway. Meat equals manliness, as we all know. But there is also a lot of reporting that I see just anecdotally, because that's all this is on forums of people with that sort of like stinky keto crotch or carnivore crotch, which is clearly a imbalance of microflora. Yeah, it's not just men. But moving on from smelly downstairs parts to another person that at least mentions vitamin C that I was like, what's this guy doing nowadays? Yeah, Frank Tufano did quit his carnivore diet a few years ago, and he was like one of the classic carnivore personas.
We are going to go over the reasons I became very sick after nearly 8 years of following a carnivore diet. Now, these are obviously things I realized after the fact, otherwise I wouldn't have stuck to the diet so long.
So yeah, this isn't a recent one, but I just had to touch on him quickly also because he mentions a lot of the same points on his whiteboard that I covered in my carnivore myths debunked video. We're talking about how you can't get all these nutrients on a carnivore diet like people claim you can. It doesn't have everything. But typing the diet in a chronometer, a ton of things fall short. However, he says there could still be a solution to that if you really want to try hard enough.
The consumption of the entrails, especially intestines, and organs that aren't typically accessible is what is key to nutrient balance. So unless you're gutting a sheep in your backyard, you'll have to do a few things differently.
That crazy people, please don't kill me in your backyard. Yes, the key here is entrails for those nutrients. Does that nutrient include E. coli, pathogenic bacteria? If that is the key, then he's going to be like, try my new E. coli entrails diet cookbook. To be fair, he's not eating that. I just like to make fun of him, especially ever since he like homoerotically photoshopped a hot dog in my mouth in one of his thumbnails. Anyway, YouTube tips. Let's move on. Next, we have a young bodybuilder, Tristan Lee, who seems to be famous for being like super lean, but he said he was plateauing in the gym, and he has a video with IFBB Pro Jared Feather and a Dr. Mike Israetel, I believe that's his name, says he was plateauing in the gym, but then made a change. Here they are.
Implementing
Those two pictures are wild.
Pretty wild.
So, what were these immediate 5-day changes? I assume it was trenbolone. but I just learned from TikTok comments.
Yeah, that change was quitting carnivore and adding carbs. He had some other benefits he covers as well, like joints.
Immediately, I was just more full, so I wasn't as stringy, and I noticed my joints weren't as terrible. Jared wanted to slowly reintroduce carbs, so just rice and sweet potato.
Okay.
And I found my digestion's like perfect with those, so I've just continued to increase and implement those.
And finally, they talk about the issues that your body has just staying in carnivore and ketosis for that long.
Carbohydrates specifically, and enough calories also, have this huge parasympathetic response to your nervous system where they put you into recovery mode.
Right.
Which is, if you're overreached and you don't have those carbs in, you're kind of in permanent mini fight or flight mode, ultra high stress mode.
Next, we have Dr. Mark Morris, who has a PhD in nutrition. He talked about some carnivore health issues, but then also makes some comments in general about the movement and criticisms like that.
Number one, just some practical stuff, but also some more serious reasons that could impact my health. I always felt left out. Social stuff like dinner parties where food is cultural and social and fun. I wasn't involved in stuff like that, and my mental energy started to suffer, let alone my physical energy. That really started to fade away. After a little bit, I started trying to manage my electrolytes and stuff like that, but it never really made it better. And then my gym performance went and my bowel movements changed, not for the better.
But he's one that goes particularly into challenging the claims of these carnivore experts online, like Chafee.
Because all these figures and people pushing the diet, which we're going to start calling the usual suspects because they come up so often, they're only telling one part of the story, the part of the story that was convenient for them.
And the whole narrative that plants are trying to kill you, making a point that I did, that if they are trying to, they're really bad at it.
All there was to plants was toxic substances that were meant to kill you. They are doing a very bad job of it, especially the people that eat only plants and are healthy. And if anything, are only improving their health.
And finally, he was the only one that actually cited a study, so bonus points there.
This study published in 2021 actually showed that the higher intake of fruits and vegetables were actually linked to lower mortality. These foods keep you alive.
Next, we have more fitness stuff as well as criticisms of the carnivore community with Corey/Box Scholar. He says he tried to get a more balanced view and listen to Lane Norton.
So when I started my exercise program, I kept hearing from experts that you really do need carbs for your muscles.
So this is where he got the idea that he could actually make some more gains in the gym if he consumed carbs. And I have to say, based on this before picture of him on a carnivore diet and this after picture of him adding carbs back in, yeah, he looks more muscular, which is really ironic because removing meat, the thing that everybody's trying to eat to be muscly, is what allowed him to gain more muscle. And he also recalls just how wacko the whole anti-plants thing is, especially with Paul Saladino.
But Paul Saladino, he goes into grocery stores making people feel guilty about eating vegetables and going in there with no shirt. Who goes into a grocery store with no shirt and shoes?
Someone who doesn't want service?
And then starts ragging about people eating vegetables. I mean, this is like a psycho. The more I think about it, the more I think that the carnivore diet is like a cult.
But I'm happy for him. He's saying eating more fiber and all that is making him feel better.
Also, I eat a lot more fiber now. I was brainwashed into believing fiber was bad for you, and it's going to cause all these problems. You're going to die from fiber, and it's going to lead to constipation and everything. Well, I haven't had that problem. I eat a lot of fiber now, and it hasn't had any detrimental effects on me. In fact, I think it makes me feel more full.
In the end, I could probably do like a 2-hour documentary responding to these videos and more, but it's clear that carnivore is no more. Well, not quite. I mean, obviously, a lot of people are still trying it, but this could be the beginning of this shift against this culture of what the carnivore diet is, of just blindly being afraid of all of these plants, which are shown to be healthy, as well as seeing problems within the movement for the first time and everybody acknowledging them. That lack of transparency, people literally hiding that they're eating seasonings and stuff like that, which of course falls on top of the mounting health issues that are becoming more and more known in the carnivore community. I mean, I didn't even cover the whole electrolyte imbalance, heart palpitation thing that a lot of people have talked about. There's people getting folate deficiencies, but it is interesting to see just a pretty widespread, almost consensus that people aren't seeing the gym results that they want. And yeah, that makes sense because our muscles like glycogen. And then that trend of low testosterone and sexual issues as well is interesting. But I was a little bit disappointed to see a couple of things not mentioned. First of all, just, how expensive this diet is. I mean, you're eating one of the most expensive ingredients solely, which drives people to eat more of that factory farm cheap meat. We have guides like this that literally tell you to do that. So they end up doing that while criticizing vegans for like harvest deaths, which is totally hypocritical. And then perhaps more importantly, that the greenhouse gas emissions of this diet are higher than I'm quite sure any other diet out there. I've calculated it before based off, this Oxford study, for example. It's insanely through the roof. People don't seem to care. They weren't like, oh, I quit because I care about the planet. Nope, none of that. Anyway, if you want some extra nutritional insurance on your planet-friendly, plant-based diet, you can, of course, click the link below and use the code Mike15 for 15%.
I'm glad to see the carnivore diet going away.
Yeah, I am too. It was fun while it lasted, going after the carnivores, just because they were so easy to go after. Just super low hanging fruit for the most part. But because I mean, just like, you know, like just learning how to do debates against carnivores was like, it's good entry level stuff to get into if you want to get into debates, because their arguments are so bad and so lacking of science or anything like that. Yeah, and there's really only so many. But yeah, I mean, the carnivore thing was so obviously a marketing ploy by big meat and dairy. Very obvious. That's why you could see these guys just losing. They basically all of them dropped it at the same time, and that was probably when their contract was up, or the deal that they made to promote meat, like they did. You know, once those two dudes were on Rogan, it was over with. That was like the coolest thing in the world, was to claim to be carnivore. None of these dudes even are to begin with, but it's like you see these guys promote it as if they were on it. And some of the, like I'd have dudes that would be, oh, I'm not on carnivore, but, and then they'd be promoting it all day. And it's like, so you're not doing it, but you're promoting it just because the cool guys on YouTube promote it. It's just really weird. But yeah, I'm definitely glad that everyone, you know, the thing's dying. But I don't know. I watched this video the other day. This guy's really cool. Smaller channel. His name's Spencer from Florida, but he had a cool video. He did little presentation on natural law. I'm gonna get out of here. William, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah.
See you next week, hopefully.
Yeah, I used to make YouTube videos. I just haven't felt like it lately, and that's one thing that I would always make videos on was carnivore.
Yeah, it's an easy one.
Yeah, I'll see you next week.
All right, man. Catch you later.
What's up, guys? Let's get a rant in. Man's law versus natural law, or God's law. What's the difference? This side is my kick with a spin. This side is the real deal, what I study, what I can't stand, what we are all still subject to this day, how the earth is really still ran tyrannically. I don't understand. Have you ever heard of unum sanctum? I don't know if you have. Pope Boniface, go all the way back. Let's go back towards the 1400s. What happened on the earth to where man decided they're going to redirect all those awesome, perfect rainwater sources where we used to grow food, and they take control of them, and they remove that from you. We don't have quality soil anymore. When they turned this electrical grid on, when they turned the electrical power grid on a long time ago, we stopped burning other man. All the living men and women. What's up, guys? Let's get a rant in. Man's law versus natural
Sorry,
law.
starting it over. I don't know what happened.
What's the difference? This side is my kick with a spin. This side is the real deal, what I study, what I can't stand, what we are all still subject to this day, how the earth is really still ran tyrannically. I don't understand. Have you ever heard of unum sanctum? I don't know if you have. Pope Boniface, go all the way back. Let's go back towards the 1400s. What happened on the earth to where man decided man could claim dominion over other man? All the living men and women, all the souls, all the land, all the property, everything, the whole earth. Something happened to where all roads lead to Rome. The Roman Catholic Church and the Pope decided that they were going to create something called unum sanctum, which was the world's first express trust. And I don't think it was the world's first express trust for obvious reasons when it comes to things like scripture, and there's nothing new under the sun. So basically there's a cataclysmic event, a man-made cataclysmic event, some type of conquering or some opportunity for the Roman Catholic Church and the Pope to take advantage over whatever happened on the earth or whatever they did. And they claimed everything. They claimed the earth. You don't believe me? Look it up. Look up what the original papal bulls were, the original expressed documents that still rule man today. And that all of us, birth certificates, we still fall under this. What is unum sanctum? The original express trust. What is the Triple Crown? Look it up. Look at your dates and look at your popes. Romanus Pontifex. I don't know how to say this. Attorney Regis. Regis, what do you see there? I see register. I see registry. I see registration. Where does all this stuff come from? Convocation. Are you in the big Catholic circuit? Did you get baptized? Did you get a baptism certificate? Does your church that's in the big Catholic circuit still have your baptism certificate, or did it end up at the Vatican? And why would it end up at the Vatican? How does that work? Why do they need to have expressed claim over your soul? It's interesting stuff, but it breeds nothing but crap. Man's law is not God's law. It's not scripture. It's not. It's man's law and man's misrepresentation, misinterpretation of scripture, or just natural law, which is also scripture in the form of energy, frequency, and vibration. And I'll say that because, say this, here's a G. G, for example, that is a symbol, okay? You have light and a lack thereof. Where the black is, there's a lack of light. Where the white is, there is light. So what you're experiencing is frequency. The spoken word is also vibration. God spoke things into existence. A lot of times, most people don't understand that there's a physical and metaphysical reference to most types of text when it comes to scriptures and religions. And so I tend to lean towards my skill set, which is energy, frequency, and vibration under natural law, which is basically understanding creation, Fibonacci sequence, golden ratio, God's favorite number, that kind of stuff, etc. I like the physics side of things, which leads me into the metaphysics, as opposed to just strictly scripture, which I wasn't raised in. But, you know, that's your thing. Great. Awesome. Here we go. Again, you have natural law and man's law. Man's law is this random claim of ownership. What did they do right after they claimed all the lands, all the people, all this and that? What did it turn in? What it turned into was they were taking control of all the ancient and old world power systems. The old world was using the Earth's energy. The Earth is an enclosed system. Imagine it's its own vessel in a sea of space, if you will. A vessel in a sea of space. Earth is its own closed system. It has the two great luminaries. You can read Book of Enoch if you want. Sun and the moon. Think the yin-yang symbol. You have the sun and the moon, the two great luminaries, a positive and a negative, an anode and a cathode, and your water is your electrolyte. The South Pole, the Antarctic ice wall. You have the North Pole in the center, Polaris in the top. When you understand the true cosmology of the Earth, you'll understand what they did shortly after this and how the ancients, before they did this, really powered themselves in the Earth. You'll start looking into star forts. The Statue of Liberty sits on top of a star fort. Do you even know what a star fort is? Star forts are also known as bastion forts, also known as Vauban style forts, French Vauban style forts. I don't think they were for what they say they were for. I think they're all about cymatics. Star forts are all about cymatics. If you don't know what that is, we'll get into it in a minute. But man's law led us into power grids, led into man controlling all the most beautiful and resourceful lands. You have state lands, national parks, dams, which is one of the biggest things. We have the massive Hoover Dam in the United States. We have the Niagara Falls. You have the Tennessee Valley Authority. What they're doing is they're taking your natural resources from you. That's all they're doing. The power grids and the electrical wires and the dams and the national parks and the state lands, what they've done is man has claimed it, which is, to me, shit made up, because history is written by the victors. And I don't just believe that you can just claim it and write it down and then that's set in stone and that's that. No, I don't believe that. I don't believe in that. The Pope isn't God to me, so I'm not going to follow that. Now, what I do understand, though, is that they do have statutory ownership over all this stuff. And all this stuff is where all of the best energy sources on Earth are. If you understand how the Earth works again, you'll understand why they have control of this stuff. When they have control of that, you are reliant on them for your energy. Okay? When you understand natural law and energy, frequency, and vibration, you can charge and ingest less food. You can charge via sunlight, your bare feet on the ground, and living flowing water, primary water. You can charge etherically. There's all types of things you can do to get free, clean, and limitless energy, not just mentioning, of course, we can grow our food by regenerating soil in many different ways that have been taken from us, grow our food using electroculture, using etherical energy, using cymatics to increase our food production. It's not just about food production, because I think the ancient times, people relied more on light and water for energy, maybe even completely. I'm talking long ago. We're talking fruitarians to breatharians. Yes, that sounds crazy. Look into it if you don't know what it is. Sounds crazy? Look into it. I've talked to people that are semi-breatharians. All right. So under man's law, when you claim all that, you have the power grids, you have the roadways and the electrical wires. That is their circuit board. That's their circuit board, but their buildings are their plugs on their circuit boards. And you probably work in a building and support their circuit board. You help them enforce all of their circuits, and you're the Gestapo with your little government job. No offense to anybody. I've been part of the same system my whole life as well, but now I understand it, and I don't like it. I don't like what I see and understand. So that circuit board, you're in a plug, your job, whatever you do, and basically you're helping them keep the power, keep all the power. from the people. You're just helping them keep control of the power. When I say it's them, it's them. It's not you. And I'll prove it to you. That's not you. All right. So what happens in these systems? You have law enforcement, code enforcement, teachers, doctors, lawyers. Here's your parameters. This is what you follow. You follow this, or we bring you up on charges. Okay. Don't disrupt their circuit. Man's law has its own electrical circuit. They took control of the energy of the earth, and you rely on them for energy because you are their slave. This, man's law, wants you to be a debt slave, really an energy debt slave. When you understand what energy and currency and how they go, they are one and the same. Cash flow, liquidate, river, banks on both sides of the river, banks. Once you start understanding all these words interchanging, you're going to start really understanding what's happened here. And so you have their circuit board, and you may be a disruptor. Say you injured their potential energy, which would be one of their own people, one of their own citizens as a birth certificate, their property. Say you damage their property, another citizen, that's potential energy for them. That's 75 years of working in taxes and things you don't even know about, like bonds and being bonded and insured and traded publicly on a stock exchange that people don't even know about. So the better of a little citizen you are, the more valuable you are. But if someone damages one of their little stores of value, which is a citizen or a person, if someone damages them, that's no good. They're mad. They're going to bring you up on charges in their courts. Courts. Interesting. I just caught that, by the way. Courts. There may be a correlation, probably not. But anyways, they're going to bring you up on charges because you disrupted their circuit board. Don't disrupt their circuit board, and you can live a more self-sufficient, clean, free, energetic life. You can live more in terms of natural law and God or God's law, and not have to rely on them, and slowly, step by step, exit the matrix, and maybe even help society and man for the future. Because right now we're on a downward spiral. It starts here with the claim of the ownership, turns into the claim of the energy, turns into the surveillance state in the courts and the debtors' prisons, turns into the IoT, what's that? The Internet of Things, smart everything, LEDs everywhere, pinging Wi-Fi everywhere. LEDs, digital light, digital frequency. It's damaging, burning the back of our retinas, keeping us down, keeping us chaotic, keeping us less powerful. This ruins your charge. Sorry, my bells. I love that. It's really windy today, but I love that resonance. We'll get into that. These LEDs, there's something else going on. It's a nefarious purpose why the LEDs are being forced and pushed upon us, okay? These LEDs are a slow bleed. They keep you down, just like many other chemicals and systems, okay? There's nothing new under the sun. How do they get everybody to follow this way back in the day, all the way back in the 1300s? Religion, alchemy, okay? It's basically an original psyop. There's nothing new under the sun, but that's an original psyop. Manipulation, psychology, basic psychology, probably because they had the ability, say there was an event and all the history was removed from the earth, or they conquered a bunch of places and they repopulated cities with orphans, things like that, orphan trains, incubator babies, looking at this stuff, orphan trains, say they repopulate these cities. What they can then do is they can create the new historical narrative, and they know science, and they remove your understanding of natural law and energy and frequency and vibration. So when they raise all these repopulated new cities, they raise them to be dependent on this. And there's no such thing as this out in nature, free, clean, and limitless. It doesn't exist, okay? And so then you're surveilled, and all man's law really breeds is energy vampires, parasites, and man acting like gods. When I say acting like gods, it's just like any Marvel movie. I don't know, imagine you have a Marvel character or some sort of sci-fi movie, and they have an egg, and they have all this power that they took from the earth, and they concentrated it into this egg, and they're going to have all that power to themselves, and the earth ends up being cold and dark and dry. I don't believe that's going to happen. I do think that they are acting like gods, trying to keep as much energy and charge and capacitance to themselves. Hence, emerald mines, think Elon Musk's dad, and emerald mines understand the technocrats and semiconductors and crystals and all that stuff. Understand data, understand crystals, understand power, understand capacitance of that stuff, but also understand they're just acting like gods. They're literally stealing the earth's energy, God's creation, nature, Mother Nature. They're stealing the earth's energy and acting like gods. They think they're gods because they have this energy, but that energy doesn't belong to them. It comes from here. It doesn't come from here, okay? So I cannot stand this section, and this is why we are screwed. This is why we are gluttons. This is why we have parasites, because we have to ingest so much freaking food, because we have no energy, because we wear rubber-soled shoes. We're not getting free electrons from the ground. We're not getting free electrons from clean, structured, flowing, electrified water from star forts and flowing primary water sources and aquifers and streams and springs, because they own it all. They have the energy. We don't have the free energy. We don't get the sunlight. They trick us into putting sunglasses on. And then what happens? Our body doesn't absorb the vitamin D. Our body doesn't handle that UV light. And then we get skin cancer. And we lather up with chemicals and we bake them into our skin with sunglasses on. What we have to do is reconnect with nature and understand what they took from us and what they brainwashed and indoctrinated out of us to get us dependent on them for energy. We even drink energy drinks to try and trick our brain into thinking we have energy when we really don't have any cellular energy. We're just alchemically using alchemy to trick our brains to think we have energy because we don't have it. And we don't have it because it's over here and they control it. They took it from us, all right? We are becoming fat gluttons because we are mineral deficient. We are mineral deficient. We don't have the energy. We don't have the energy because we don't understand natural law and energy and frequency and vibration. All right, that's the dark crap. Man's law breeds energy vampires, parasites, and man acting like gods. It's bull crap. It's, I'm going to say shit made up. SMU, David Straight, shit made up. If you're a fan of him or not, whatever. Natural law. All right, natural law to me is energy, frequency, and vibration. I think the earth has a natural order already in place. I think the natural order is already here. I think scripture is a great representation of it in many different types of scriptures and many different types of religions. Whichever one you think to be true, a lot of times there's a lot of good energy, physical versus metaphysical. There's phenomenal physical representations within your scripture. You got to understand everything is a resonance, okay? The spoken word, that's a vibration. We have to understand what symbols are, what letters are on a page. What are we doing? What are we looking at? We're experiencing a frequency of light. L, there is light and a lack thereof where the L is, okay? Understand energy, frequency, and vibration. 432 hertz. We've gone over this before. All of our music, they tuned it to 440, just like the LEDs. They want to take our power away. If we are always listening to 432 hertz and it is energizing us and we are resonating with the natural resonance of nature and the earth, we are going to be charged and require less energy. We are more self-sufficient when we are tuned to this and not this, which is Nazi infiltration. Think Operation Paperclip. LEDs are no different than the original music infiltration, okay? All of our instruments are tuned to that. It's slightly acidic. It brings us down compared to this, if you understand. Sorry, 432 hertz, 528 is energizing as well. This is peaceful, loving, harmonious, healing. 528 is energizing. There's endless frequencies, okay? There's just as many good frequencies as there are bad frequencies, but this is what all our music's tuned to. This is what they're making us look at instead of this beautiful sun going down the sunset that I get to see, okay? Without sunglasses on, by the way. All right, when it comes to natural law and energy, frequency, and vibration, and I'm gonna go through the land, the air, and the water. Law, land, air, and water. Could be an acronym. If you believe in that or not, it's up to you. I went all the way back to here to understand where the origins of our law that we go by today, even back to the Magna Carta, Charter of the Forest, all that. Look into it. It's kind of cool stuff. But let's start with the land, starting with soil. What did they take from us? The rain used to hit the mountaintops, go down, structure through the mountains, mineralize as it's going down the mountains, and it would flow out into the valleys where we would grow food. And that food would be from after silty floods. This mud would come through the valleys, and that's where we would grow our food because we had all the minerals from the distilled water in the mountaintops, and that created the crazy good soil that we grew our food in. And then the plants would metabolize all those minerals, and that food from that source was extremely energizing. You require less. It makes you healthier. You resonate at a frequency that's closer to nature that we are designed to resonate at, okay? So regenerating our soil from the rain that came from the mountaintops and the valleys, flooding was good, but they fixed that for us, right? Man's law fixed that for us. We have things like the TVA and the Hoover Dam and Niagara Falls. They're going to redirect all those awesome, perfect rainwater sources where we used to grow food, and they take control of them, and they remove that from you. We don't have quality soil anymore. When they turned this electrical grid on, when they turned the electrical power grid on a long time ago, we stopped burning trees. What are trees? Trees have these deep roots that do nothing but pull minerals up. What do you think grows these massive trees, massive oaks I'm looking at? They're massive mineral deposits. We used to burn that wood, and that ash is what our ancestors and even our great-grandparents used to throw in their food beds, in their gardens to grow their food. And the ash from those trees had the minerals that the plants would metabolize that we would then eat to charge us. We were so much more healthy, so much more energized. We were thinner, we were healthier, we could fight off disease. There was no disease. There was no EMF. There was no electromagnetic frequency hardly at all that we had to worry about. People were healthy because of the soil. So we have to understand how important the land is, and it's the soil jurisdiction, regenerating the soil, minerals, the mining industry. We don't know how valuable quartz really is. I think quartz, and you can get into this if you want to, I think quartz is nothing more than petrified tissue of all types of old living organisms, biology, old biology, ancient biology, petrified biology is what quartz is. Whether it's an eyeball to skin to a heart of some sort of creature to a plant to a tree to ancient tree sap, whatever it is, ancient tree sap, anything, when it solidifies, it's usually turning into some type of quartz. or even metallurgy gets into this too. You know, you're going to figure out some crazy stuff with minerals and mining and quartz in the old world. And really what when we go mining for metals and things and like the gold rush in California, these weren't necessarily what you think they were. History is a lie. I'm not going to get all into that, but just understand that I'm one of those weirdos that understands that quartz isn't exactly what you think it is. Google image a kidney stone, a calcium kidney stone, and look at the pictures of those suckers cut in half. They look exactly like geodes. There's way more to what I just told you than that. I'm going to leave it at that, okay? And look up Devil's Tower and ancient trees too. Look into that. So we got to understand the land. These are different frequencies. So communication, energy, frequency, and vibration works differently on the land, the air, and the water. That's why we have different jurisdictions and legal code and terminology, because frequencies get sent through the land and soil. Light frequencies get sent through the land and soil, minerals, differently than they do the air, etherically, different than they do the water. Light going through water or frequency going through water is different than air. Yet they all coincide and work together and can resonate in a perfect system. The true cosmology of the earth, sun and moon, yin yang symbol, you know, anode, cathode, north pole in the middle, south pole around the outside, Polaris, etc. When you understand the Earth's cosmology and that powerful, regenerating, never-ending battery source and energy source, you're going to understand how important it is to understand what we have for energy and what they took. We have etherical energy all around us at all times. Look up electroculture. If we understood the air and the ether, we would understand electroculture, growing our plants with simple copper wires. Copper wire, coil, copper wire going up on the same coil into an antenna can grow your plants faster, harder, stronger, healthier. Things like understanding moon harvest. I've got a little extra credit on the back, moonwood. Hold on for that. But we can grow food understanding the energy, frequency, and vibration of the land and the air and the water. Think of aquaponics, etc. Think of cymatics. If you know what cymatics are, I would hope if you're listening to me and I've been listening this long, you know what cymatics really are. Cymatics is us creating a specific frequency. And when introduced to water, say you have a cup of water, you say, I love you, I love you, I love you. This is very rehearsed, by the way. Everybody knows this that knows cymatics. I love you, I love you, I love you. Thank you, thank you, I love you, thank you. You freeze that water. It's going to have a beautiful crystalline structure. If I freeze water after saying, screw you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I want you to die, and you freeze that crystalline structure of this water is not going to look the same as this one. And understand the capacitance and the electrical charge of this one. This one is living. This one is dead, okay? Understand what living water is. They have removed living water from all of our textbooks and all of our learning. And they have removed us understanding what the mandalas are on the front of these mega churches, okay? That ties into cymatics. Cymatics go hand in hand with those mega mandalas on the front of those Catholic churches and those cathedrals. Understand what they are. Look into it. Understand the organs, the mega organs in those churches. Hint, it's not for playing music. I've gone over this before. We'll get into that in other videos. Flow. Why did I write flow? Standing in flowing water, if you have a creek, okay, or a river, that's squished, imagine that's like a power line. Power lines have increased capacitance. The tighter it is, okay, the smaller the space. When you have this creek of flowing structured water, the faster it flows and the harder it flows, the more electron giving it is, all right? So when you get into that flowing water, it's living, electron giving flowing water, you literally charge in clean structured primary or flow, any type of flowing water. But if you're in a dead stagnant pond, it could steal energy from you. A dead stagnant pond is literally electron stealing. So understand how important water is when we could have even included cymatics and structured water to plants. The water in the plants and the water in our food. If we structure the water and play pretty music and pray over our food, when you pray over food, that's the spoken word. Say it's gospel scripture if that's what you're into. When you pray over your food or you say beautiful things into your food or you play beautiful frequencies over your food, which has water in it, you have just created cymatics, which is a healing and energizing system. It's a naturally resonant system that matches Mother Nature and natural law in the form of energy, frequency, and vibration. That's what praying over food is. That's what gospel is. That's what this singing, that's the whole point of this. It's to get the cymatics of the fluids, the water and the blood in your system crystallizing properly. Or not necessarily crystallizing, but getting the shape and the frequency proper inside your body that you're supposed to resonate at because you're tuning for it, all right? We need to understand what electrolytes are in a battery too. So again, just to be quick, sun and moon. Sun and moon, positive, negative, anode, cathode, possibly electrolyte, water down beneath. You have two flagpoles in front of that old mega cathedral, possibly anode, cathode, fountain right behind it, always in front, always perfect geometry, possible electrolyte, possible battery system, wireless power induction. You've got to understand the old world. What did they take from us and they gave us this? They took all this beautiful stuff from us and they gave us this, and we have to follow that, and we're subject to their tyranny, and everything is turned into shit. We don't know why. We don't understand why. It's because of this. Because we're following that and not this. We're following man's law, not natural law. So once you start doing this, you understand the land, the air, and the water, and you start to really ground and resonate. My feet are bare right now. I got bare feet right now. You're on the ground, barefoot on the ground. You are going to start resonating with the earth, and you're going to understand what is divine and what is more beautiful. You will literally act different the more you walk barefoot. You're going to heal. Your inflammation will decrease, all types of good things, because it's electron giving, and you are now resonating with the earth, and your torus field is one with the earth, just like a tree torus field, all right? Understand what you're doing when you're putting your bare feet on the ground, and understanding what you're doing when you're wearing plastic clothes and putting rubber-soled shoes on for long periods of time. It's electron stealing, okay? Understand what we're doing. Become a divine healing body. What I mean by that is you're here to be a tuning fork. You're a tuning fork. Whenever you were born, whatever your zodiac sign is, your prenatal chart, you have a specific tune that you're supposed to be here and resonate with. And nature is designed for you to resonate with it. So you're a tuning fork and you show up, and you need to resonate and match your terrain, because Mother Nature is the true terrain. The creation is our terrain. We're divine heavenly bodies. And when we show up, we need to vibrate in a manner that resonates and it doesn't create something we call dis-ease. That is the natural order. That is natural law. If you show up somewhere and things start dying, something's wrong. You have to figure out, either you could remove yourself, you can remove something. You have to figure out what you're doing wrong. If you're doing something that's creating dis-ease in the world or the terrain around you, then that's what you need to fix. You are not vibrating in a divine manner, okay? You're doing something like this. You're becoming this. You don't have the energy, or you're off, or you're at a frequency that's very negative. You're at a frequency that is actually not healing, maybe even killing. Rock and roll music kills a lot of plants. Rock and roll kills a lot of plants. Divine, say, old world pianos and classical music will make plants grow and heal. Be a tuning fork to this world. Be a divine heavenly body. Charge. Take all of the free energy the earth has to offer without disrupting their grid system. When you disrupt their circuit and their system, they've got you surveilled, and they're going to be watching you, and they're going to try to bring you up on charges and take you away, so you don't teach other people this stuff, okay? Don't disrupt their energy circuit and their system. If you do that, you're making a mistake. You can step out quietly, okay? Don't be a disruptor. You can do things and stay off of their radar and start easing your way out of the matrix. It's not an event. It's a process. Don't do it cold turkey. It's very dangerous. You get yourself caught. You get yourself hurt. You get Herxheimer reaction from detoxing too quick, all types of stuff. But there's endless stuff we can talk about. But this is my long rant on man's law, which I call shit made up, which we're all stuck under that tyranny, and then natural law. And the laws of energy, frequency, and vibration. I could underline this 100 times and never be tired of underlining it. Study points. I just learned about primary water like a month ago. It's amazing. I can't stop talking about it or thinking about it, understanding it. Understand the old Native Americans that they used to pay to find the primary water, the water that comes deep within the earth. There's an ocean underneath of our ocean. I know you don't know about that stuff. Look up primary water. It's amazing. We're never, ever running out of water. All of the elites know where all the primary water is. You can even buy your own dowsing rods and try to go closer to primary water on different lands. Find it, understand it, maybe claim it for yourself. Tap into it, a deep well. Understand primary water, provide for yourself. Primary water really is the life source of the earth. It's one of them. It plays a huge role, and we need to understand it. Grounding, I've mentioned it way too many times already. It's electron giving. You are connecting with the earth's resonance. It's really hard to be a crappy person when you're always grounding, when you're always bare feet on the ground, literal ground, good ground, not crappy ground, not pavement, not just dead clay that was shipped in. It's long dead and doesn't have any charge hardly. Real ground, natural ground, more natural the better. High frequency foods. What is H3O2? I think the best water on earth is in fruit. And when I say it's in fruit, the best water on earth is in fruit, because the water gets pulled through the roots, pulled up the tree trunk, all pulled through, pushed out the branches and into this fruit where it sits in a divine structure. We have star fruit out here, a star, a literal star, which, remember, star forks and cymatics, the water in that star is literally vibrating and resonating in there, and it holds that frequency. That's a high frequency, and it's getting charged in the sun on that tree, and it's offered freely with no karmic debt. And I eat that and I spit the seeds out somewhere else and I grow another tree. Okay, so high frequency foods, high frequency water. What is the fourth phase of water? Have you ever heard of that? The fourth phase of water. Look up H3O2 and the fourth phase of water. I prefer to get most of my water from fruit and vegetables, but again, vegetables are more for the minerals. We want those plants and vegetables to be metabolizing quality minerals. Growing food in your yard, if it's in crap soil, is not that important. Growing that crap food, they're empty. It's better than the store, way better than the store. Of course, becoming self-sufficient is amazing, but understand the soil is everything. And those vegetables are for the minerals, man. The fruit is easier on your gut. Your body wants the fruit more. It's easier to digest. This mineral content, that's high frequency as well. So when those are metabolizing all the quality minerals that you put into your soil, that you gave back to the earth, that's when you get rewarded. nuts and seeds. You need your fats. We're not going to get into common health stuff, but nothing pasteurized. Okay, dairies need to be raw dairies, raw eggs. Get your chickens eating that. How does a chicken eat some bugs and some feed with very low calcium in it and shoot out an egg that's crazy amounts of calcium? It literally transmutes and generates calcium out of nothing. It creates calcium. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Waking Up with Analog, Ben said that. He was mind blown, and it blew my mind too. It's like, holy crap. They don't take in anywhere near the amount of calcium that they shoot out. Therefore, chickens are literal calcium creators. Really think about that. They are creators. It's crazy. Crazy. It's neat. All right. Other than high frequency foods and getting healthy, so we are vibrating at a higher level. Crystals. We need to understand crystals. Salt is a crystal. Potassium is a crystal. Sugar is a crystal. Ever heard of the sodium potassium pump? Sodium potassium pump for cellular energy. What is salt and potassium? What is sugar? These are crystals. They're all forms of crystals. We have a sodium potassium pump. These are electrolytes. Electric light. Okay. What is piezoelectricity? What does quartz have? Crystals. Think quartz. Quartz has a piezoelectric charge. We need to understand what piezoelectricity is. This is free, clean, and limitless energy. We've got to understand it and understand what electrolytes are. Do these crystals have light in them? Do they hold a charge? Are we sending electric light through our body, electrolytes, when we drink this stuff? Are we drinking little crystals? I don't know. You tell me. Look into it. Understand piezoelectricity and crystals. I never thought I was going to be a tree-hugging, crystal-loving hippie, but I absolutely am because I understand it inside and out now. Light and sound are one and the same. Tesla said light can be nothing more than a sound vibration in the ether, okay? The reason I put that there is because we need to understand that light and sound are one and the same. Magnetism, electromagnetism, and the dielectric, all that hard physics stuff that gets kind of advanced is really not that advanced if you think about what you had to do in high school to indoctrinate yourself away from this stuff. This is so much easier, okay? Sound is a vibration. You increase the capacitance, a laser light is also a vibration. Look it up. Think peaks and troughs, ones and zeros, all that stuff. We don't need to get into ones and zeros and all the technology yet, but we do need to understand that that light is not digital light. The light that's shining on me that's probably messed up the way I look this whole video, that light is the light we need, especially the last 15 to 20 minutes of the day. You need to see that in the evening, go down, and you need to see that in the morning when it comes up. That's the light we want. That's the light that charges us. That's the light that creates life. Sounds are the same. They're just a bigger, slower wave, okay? It's just a different frequency. Light and sound are both frequency, all right? We need to understand magnetism. Go to YouTube channel, Theoria Apophysis. Please ignore his personality. He gets a little awkward at times, but he has the best information on physics and magnetism for anybody that wants to learn about physics, the physics and laws of magnetism and how it really works. His name is Ken Wheeler. He's amazing. I thank him very much. He doesn't believe in the cosmology of the earth the way I do, but he did teach me magnetism. He did solidify everything I do believe. That's my long rant. Extra credit was moon wood. Why would you harvest wood on a full moon? Why would you harvest your plants on a full moon? What happens to us on a full moon when we go out? Everything is heightened on the full moon. Why? What is moonwood? Look it up. Get back to me. I just learned what primary water and moonwood was like a month ago. I love it. It makes way too much sense. All right. So look up primary water and moonwood for me. That's your extra credit stuff. Of course, with all this stuff, but man's law, natural law all day long. That's garbage. That's shit made up. That's shit made up. Reasons with energy vampires, parasites, and man acting like gods. Let's be tuning forks. Let's be energy givers and healers. Let's show up as a tuning fork and heal our family and friends. Heal everybody. Be divine heavenly bodies like we were supposed to be. All right. Thanks. That's it. Peace.